We're back again for another very interesting conversation. Where do you want to begin?
There's been a lot of things happening. We haven't done a podcast in a while, so
Actually, you can talk about, which is like one of the biggest controversies right now, is Charlie Kirk's wife and how everyone thinks it's all a show and, like there's all these kind of ideas about her and what she's doing and how she's moved on so quickly and how she's not a grieving widow, a typical grieving widow, but, obviously we see the symbolism. Let's talk about that.
okay. And also, I just remembered that what I really wanted to talk about the most in this podcast was I wanted to talk. It sounds like a boring subject, but it's not boring at all. And it does tie in a little bit with Erica Kirk. Is the subject of forgiveness.
Yeah.
And so basically, I wanted to bring up some things that will help those of you who are struggling with, having like, you've got resentment towards people that have done you wrong or
Mm,
whatever. And it's to help you have like this higher perspective that's going to help you have more space in your heart to forgive them. Because it's just a way of seeing things that's like that gives you've got more clarity, and it really helps a lot to to soften the heart. So, and we're going to be using symbolism, examples of symbolism, like in Stranger Things and Wicked, and I'll remember the other ones later. But so we'll get into like Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk. So in a nutshell, like what I was posting about, just after he passed, after he died, after he was assassinated, was I was drawing those connections between him and the and John the Baptist,
yeah.
the character John the Baptist. So like he mobilized a lot of people to vote for Trump. He was like acting like a forerunner to Trump because he was gathering people ready for Trump because he was like an ally, like a Trump, like a very strong Trump ally.
Yeah.
Like all of the stories from, movies and all the mythology, religious stories, it's all basically telling the same thing, but showing different aspects. So you're always getting, it's never going to be the same experience. Once you find a story, say in the Bible, that has a parallel in the Quran, you think you're getting the same thing, but you're not. You're getting different perspectives. You're getting a different, like, every time you find the same story somewhere else, which is always very exciting once you get into this stuff. It's never gonna be the exact same story. It's going to show you more. It's going to show you, so you're going to go deeper and understand the concept better. So for example, he represented, so think of John the Baptist, the forerunner to Jesus Christ, which, John the Baptist was a big deal, even though he's not really, people don't really talk about him. Like every Christian knows who John the Baptist is, but every non-Christian knows who Jesus is, but doesn't know who John the Baptist is.
Mm.
So, like, who doesn't know who Jesus Christ is, right? Like, who on earth does not know, has never heard that name, Jesus Christ? But John the Baptist, he also had a miraculous conception. He also, that he was Jesus' cousin. He was the one who baptized Jesus,
Mm.
right? Like, but that's a big deal. So hang on, who's this guy that baptized Jesus that also had a miraculous, not immaculate, but it was miraculous because his mother was barren and elderly. And he was Jesus's cousin, born 6 months older. He was 6 months older. He's a big deal, but no one understands why it's a big deal. And then so in the Torah, so John the Baptist is in the New Testament. So just so you know, like Judaism is basically the Old Testament, and then Christianity is the Old and the New Testament. So John the Baptist is part of the New Testament. And in the Old Testament, you've got the character Elijah, which I won't even get into Elijah, and he's kind of like represents the same thing as John the Baptist, but in the Old Testament. And then you also have like there's this other character in the Old Testament or the Torah called the high priest, the high priest of the tabernacle. So the tabernacle was a place like a temporary. temple. So it's a big deal because the first temple, the Temple of Solomon, that was built on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, like that Temple Mount is the most fought over piece of real estate in the whole entire world. And so everything that ever happened there, everything that was ever built there is a really big deal. So the first temple was built there, that was Solomon's temple, right? And Freemasonry, people talk about Freemasonry all the time, Freemasons, Freemasons. They don't understand where it all comes from. And Solomon's temple has a big deal. Like it's part of the foundations of Freemasonry. And so Solomon's temple was built after the tabernacle. So the tabernacle became the temple. The tent became the building, okay? Think of it like that. So Charlie Kirk died under a tent, right? And that represents the tabernacle. And then what happened? What's everyone sharing now about that exact location? Everyone's sharing, like people are going there and filming them doing reconstruction to the very location where Charlie died. They're doing construction work. And so the reason why they're sharing that is they're like, oh, they're covering the evidence. They're covering the evidence, right? So that's kind of like the cover story for why the video of that location and the reconstruction of the work that they're doing is going viral. There has to be a reason for it to go viral, right? But really, the real reason, the subconscious reason for it to be going viral is because it represents the transition between the tabernacle and the temple. So, tabernacle, tent, temple, building. So, basically, what happened in the tabernacle, right, was that you had a high priest. Now, I have to revisit all of this. This is not fresh in my mind because it's been so many years since I looked at all this stuff, and that's what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks. But from memory, the high priest, he acts as the intermediate, like as the connector between the Israelites that surround the tabernacle in their tents and God. So he's the connector between the people and God, if you know what I mean. And so in the tabernacle, you had this room called the Holy of Holies. And so only the high priest could enter that room because if anyone else entered it, they would die. Um, Only the high priest had I don't know what the word is, but only he had really the authority to go into that room because the God's presence was in that room because the Ark of the Covenant was in that room. The Ark of the Covenant, like basically God's presence was so overpowering that if you weren't, I guess, pure enough to be in the presence of God, you would die, right? So like there's this one day of the year, and now we're going to talk about the rapture because the rapture is linked into so Charlie Kirk was also playing so John the Baptist and the high priest. John the Baptist is another aspect of the same thing that the high priest is. Okay. So it's showing you can see how John the Baptist was the forerunner. He was the one that was like getting the people ready for Jesus. In the same way, the high priest was getting the people ready for God. Do you know what I mean? Like the connector, the one that's like linking them together. So the high priest, there's this one day of the year, and it's called the Jews call it Yom Kippur.
Mm.
And it's the most holy day of the year in the Jewish calendar. It's called Yom Kippur, and it means Day of Atonement. On that day, it's basically, long story short, it's the only day that the Israelites they don't do sacrifices, right? They don't bring the animal sacrifice. It's the one day where the priest acts on their behalf, and he does the sacrifice on behalf of the Israelites. So it's basically the Day of Atonement, like the Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, in the Jewish holiday, in the Jewish calendar, it comes after the Feast of Trumpets. It's the one that comes after the Feast of Trumpets. Now, the Feast of Trumpets, as you know, has been a really hot topic online,
Yes.
because there's been a lot of talk about the rapture. And the rapture went so viral this year. I mean, last year, a lot of people were talking about the rapture on April 8, that we had that eclipse. So there was all this talk about rapture is going to happen on April 8, um, which, by the way, April 8 it's an 8/11 date because April is the second month in the Roman calendar. So everyone thought the rapture was going to happen April 8 last year, which was an 8/11 date. That's the last time we heard about, the rapture. And when I say that, it was the Baptist Christians, like not all Christians believe in a rapture concept,
Mm.
but the Baptists do. The Baptist denomination is quite big. So those of you who are not Christian, you probably think it's all like the way it looks online, it's like all Christians are talking about it. It's not. It's really just the Baptists and maybe some other denominations that I'm not aware of. They do disagree. So the average Christian and the Baptist will disagree on this topic. They'll have debates about it and stuff because the Christians are really just like, no, there is no rapture. Because the rapture is kind of like it's like saying there's a first judgment instead of just having the one judgment day. It's like saying there is another judgment day that comes before the big judgment day that everyone's waiting for, which is when Jesus comes back.
Yeah.
And so there's a big secret hiding in this. I would say one of the biggest secrets in the world is hiding in this debate about whether the rapture is real or not. And then, yeah, if you look, you start to see where the rapture, which of course that term is never used, where it's hiding in other denominations and other religions. And yeah, this is really an exciting topic, especially when you start to see it hiding everywhere. The reason why they're connecting the rapture with the Feast of Trumpets is because Jesus said, "You will not know the day or the hour." And when asked about the second coming.
Mm.
And so they've mixed it up with that, and then they've picked up that that's an idiom. It's not just because most Christians say you can't say when Judgment Day is going to be, when Jesus is going to come back or whatever, because he said you can't know the day or the hour. It's not just the Christians that say that either. I'm pretty sure the Muslims say that as well.
Mm.
Um, and so they say no one can know because the scriptures say that no one can know, only God knows. But all these people online, um, kind of like the theory about it being an idiom for the Feast of Trumpets became really popular suddenly this year. And like so many people were talking about it. Like people have been talking about it for years, but this year it just suddenly became like viral. It went viral. Like, yes, the not knowing the day or the hour is connected to the Feast of Trumpets because that is the one holy day on the Jewish calendar that is determined by the sighting of the moon.
Mm.
So it's connected to the moon, the only one on the Jewish holiday, on the Jewish calendar. And and you can't know, like it's not a day that you can know when it's going to be, something like that. And so they've made that connection. But then I went deeper and I realized that really what that's hiding, it's still hiding something. Like it's getting closer, but it's still hiding something. And that is that the rapture is actually more closely connected to the Day of Atonement or Yom Kippur, which is the holy day on the Jewish calendar that comes after the rapture, after the Feast of Trumpets. So what they did was with Yom Kippur, like you see in so many places, they've meshed two different events together. So the average Christian, like not the Baptist Christians, the average Christian has meshed two different events that happen at two different times together and they've merged it into one judgment day at the end. I can't tell you how many times I'm seeing this now in other places as well, where there is this other event that's hiding and it's a really, really big deal and it's really related to that event. And so the only sort of like denomination or religion I can think of that really separates the two is the Baptist Christians because they're really separating the rapture event from the judgment, from the second coming, whatever judgment. So there's first judgment, second judgment. And so it's two different events happening at two different times. And when you start to understand this first judgment better, which I'm only just starting to, This is something I consider this to be one of my greatest discoveries, right? Because yeah, I even found it in the seventh, believe it or not, but I even found it because I grew up in the Seventh-day Adventist church. So I went looking there and I found it there hiding as well. And it hides in the year 1844. And I've spoken to you about 1844 in the past. I so basically they called it the Great Disappointment
Yeah.
because everyone thought that Jesus was going to come in 1844. Like all these people thought that Jesus was going to come. And they called it the Great Disappointment because Jesus didn't come, right? So can you see the similarity with that and the rapture that was supposed to take place on September 23,
Yeah.
right? So basically the Adventist church, which I grew up in, like I spent the first 17 years of my life going to church every Saturday, right? And I did not realize that the Adventist movement was founded on the catalyst for the Adventist movement was 1844. It all started in 1844 because Jesus didn't come. So what they did was they created this new theory about what really happened and what was happening. So they created Adventism. So basically it was something like, so I'm only getting into this now, so I can't explain it as well as I'd like to, but it's something about 1844, they decided that something did happen, but it was invisible. And what it was that there was a prejudgment. I can't remember what they call it. Some sort of prejudgment began in 1844 that is invisible to us and it's happening in the heavenly realms. And it's this sort of like, Jesus is acting as our advocate and I can't remember how it's worded, but there is this first judgment process that has been taking place since 1844 in the heavens, in heaven. And it's so there is that. So I found it there, and that's really the equivalent to the Baptist rapture. It doesn't sound the same, but it is, and it will become clearer later. Um, so so basically, this event, right? Whether I don't know what you want to call it. I'm just going to call it the rapture because it's the most popular word that people hear. So I just refer to it as the rapture. But usually it's not good to use that word because it makes people think like, oh, people floating in the sky and they think September 23rd and all that stuff. But really that event is what the rapture represents, what 1844 represents, what September 23 represents. It's the same thing as it's essentially it's the same thing as Yom Kippur, which is this event that happens in the tabernacle with the high priest, and the high priest acts on behalf of the Israelites. So, in a nutshell, what's happening is that what it's all about is that there's certain people on the earth that have basically elevated. I'm going to sound like a new age person now. Elevated their frequency to a certain point. They're like a John the Baptist or a high priest sort of thing in the spiritual realm. And it's because they've purified their hearts to a certain degree. There is no such thing yet as being fully pure-hearted. So we don't know what the threshold is. Only God knows, right? Because there's no one pure walking the earth right now. So, but there is some sort of threshold that only God knows that people, once they've purified their hearts enough and they've activated, like they're sitting at the 88 portal. So the Lion's Gate portal. So it's a lion because it's a lion is like a cat, which the cats, represent the spiritual realm, right? The subconscious. But it's also loud and courageous and it roars and it's power and it's strong and it's about it being like someone that's got empathy and compassion, but they're doing something about it. It's putting it into practice, putting it into action. You're speaking the truth. You're out there. You're not scared. Like You're like you're getting stuff done in the physical realm. You're reflecting the goodness in the spirit realm out, and you're reflecting it into the physical realm. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not just crying about the suffering in the world, you're doing something about it. You know, you're not just keeping things to yourself. You're speaking the truth. You're sharing the truth. You know, you're like
Being proactive.
it's basically the masculine energy. So it's Venus plus Mars. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So heart, throat. Mars is the throat. So the pure heart, you know, or pure heartedness is Venus, and that's the beauty of the spirit, the beauty of the feminine energy beauty. And then that it's like Robin Hood and Snow, you know, Robin Hood and Maid Marian, right? Or Snow White and Jonathan, if you watch the latest Snow White film. Jonathan is like a noble, like a virtuous outlaw, like a Robin Hood archetype.
Yeah.
So like what's he doing? He's out there, he's like got his bow and arrow, robbing from the rich to give to the poor. So you're actually like going up against the Robin Hood goes up against the evil, you know, establishment, like because there's a bad king in control. So
Mm.
instead of just being like, okay, we're just going to obey these like unethical laws and just go along with the program, no, we're going to do what's right. There's a bad king in control, so he goes out and rebels against the bad king.
Yeah.
But if there was a good king in control, he'd be serving that good king. Do you know what I mean? But because it's a bad king, he's got to go up against the bad king
Yeah.
because you got to do what's right. So it's like we live in this spiritual democracy where you know, because of, you know, a lot of people's bad actions, bad thoughts, and bad words, like, you know, low frequency output. It's every time you do that, you're casting a vote for either the good or the bad, the angels or the demons, right? So we live in this spiritual democracy of angels and demons, which is essentially us. We're the angels and the demons in the spiritual realm, controlling everything. So the good people in the world, the ones that are, you know, basically suffering because other people are voting for the bad, right? I mean, we're all voting for the bad to some degree, but there is some, you know, it's a spectrum that some people are like more like saints and some people are more like degenerates, you know? That's why we have prisons, like to keep the really bad ones off the streets, you know? And so, and so like those who are waiting at the 88 portal are the ones that have been casting the votes for the good but suffering because the others are, you know, mostly voting for the bad, and we collectively have to suffer for that.
Yeah.
And so the Old Testament refers to them as the suffering servants, which the Jews believe is the nation of Israel. So the Jews believe that's them because they're the chosen ones, but they're just playing that role. That's it, they're just symbols. They're playing that role of the chosen ones,
Mm.
just like everyone's playing a role, right? So that's their role that they're playing. They're playing the chosen ones. The chosen ones are actually, I mean, the Book of Mormon, like there's places that actually reveal the truth that Zion is for the pure, you know, Zion as in Zionist Zion. It's the pure-hearted, and a Jew is someone that's circumcised the heart. You know, it's not about it's basically a Jew is someone that's like in a nutshell, a good person, someone that's like tapped into the moral code and they're living out they're living it out.
Mm.
Not dogma, not religion, not like, oh, I follow this rule book or I obey the law. Or it's the moral code that's on our heart. So when you go to a shop or you go somewhere or there will be a situation that happens, you know, situations happen all the time in our lives where we have to decide what's the right thing to do. There's no we shouldn't be relying on some like book that says this is wrong, this is right. A lot of the time we need to rely on our inner moral compass.
Mm.
And so a lot of people don't have access to that moral compass, but it's because it's like it's hidden. But the more that you purify your heart, the more that moral compass makes itself known, and you can feel, you can feel the truth when you're hearing it. You can feel, okay, this is the right thing to do. Your intuition opens up and you have more intuition. And so like the more that happens, the more you do that, and the more that you basically align your heart and throat, which is your spirit and your soul is locked in your solar plexus, and you want to free it up to like rise up so that it now is doing the things that are in the heart, and saying the things that are in the heart. So a Jew is really someone that's like up here. And what it is like we call it the 8-8 because the the subconscious is the eight, like the subconscious realm, or should I say the spirit. The spirit is the eight. That's why like night, like yeah, it's a subconscious. So like in the day, you got day and night. And the word night is actually the word eight with N in front of it. And you can see that in lots of different languages too. So like in Italian, otto is eight and night is notte. So it's just changed the O to the E. But it's just, and then in English, it's eight and then night with N. So it's got N at the beginning and
Yeah,
all these other languages as well. So when you think eight, think, what are you doing when you're sleeping? You've gone into your subconscious realm.
yeah,
You've switched off the conscious and you're now awake in the subconscious. That's what it represents anyway.
yeah.
And so the 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 spirit, like it lives in your heart, and this is why the Bible says that the heart is deceptive because your spirit is not purified. So your heart might tell you to, you know, it might fall in love with someone that's really bad for you, you know.
Or tell you to
Um,
get the vaccine for your grandma.
yeah, exactly. It might say you need to do this because like yeah, you need to get the vaccine because like you're doing your part for humanity. What do they call it? Herd immunity, all that stuff. So your heart is telling you if you think it's coming from a good place, but it's actually like your spirit is deceiving you. Like it's a deception because your spirit is not purified, and therefore it is it's locked into some sort of program that says like it's attached to some sort of script.
Yeah.
So you come into this realm with a script and you're playing a role. We're all playing roles. So we're all conduits of symbolism. And so everyone picks a religion or picks a ideology. We come in with into a certain country, so we've got a certain race. I have an Italian background, you're Turkish, we
Mm.
live in Australia. Like we're all playing roles of like certain ideologies, certain nationalities, certain whatever. But our spirits, our subconscious has access to all knowledge, all things. So we're only playing that role here in this simulation. That's why when you do hypnotherapy is so effective because you're tapping into the subconscious. Subconscious has access to all the information.
Mm.
And so the subconscious, when we had lockdowns and the masks and stuff. So the mask represents you were locked down in our houses and we had to wear masks. So the house represents the heart, and the mask represents the fact that our spirits are basically muzzled,
Mm.
right? Like our spirits are in bondage. We are all in bondage, all of us. We're all our spirits are trapped in the unconscious to some degree. Like there's, because some people are more pure-hearted than others, but even the most pure-hearted people on the planet, there's still a part of their spirit that's locked in the unconscious that needs to be freed, that needs to be rescued. And so it's like our subconscious is to some degree, like it's going to be different for every person, right? But to some degree, it's in bondage and it's locked up. Like think of like Stranger Things when Will is in the upside down
Mm.
and he's trying to communicate with his mother and Will, what's her name? Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
And he's trying to communicate with her and she ends up grabbing like, yeah,
Lights.
she writes the alphabet on the wall, A to Z, and she puts a light, a fairy light on top of each one. So he's able to communicate via electricity. So then he starts to go, she starts to spell out words because he's turning the light on above each letter.
Mm.
So think of that. And that's pretty much what's happening with our spirits. Our subconscious is trying to speak to our conscious, like our spirit is trying to speak to our soul, but our soul and spirit is separated. We're in separation. And this is what twin flames represents. And so our subconscious is yelling at us every day, right? And we're missing all the signs. People are watching movies for entertainment. They're watching the news to get the latest, whatever's happening today. They're going to church to whatever. Like everyone's just doing stuff, not realizing that the subconscious is always constantly communicating to us through our pets, through nature, through every single movie, every single TV show,
Yeah. All
the news. Sorry?
the, the big people on that we see on TV and what's playing out there and
Exactly. So a lot of the red pill community have picked up on this to some degree. The problem is that they're blaming everyone for being part of a secret society, being a Freemason. Oh, they're like, they're
it's all
putting out the
planned,
symbols.
it's all planned and it's all part of the sh
I mean, like we're guilty of that too. We were doing that a year ago. We
yeah,
thought it was all consciously
yeah,
planned, like it was all consciously being executed. But
yeah,
it's not. It's the subconscious having all this control over like every word that a person says. And
yeah,
it's not necessarily a bad thing at all. In fact, it's just the way it is because it's a simulation. So of course
yeah,
there's something behind it. And when you're playing a video game, it's not your character's being controlled by you, right? So our true selves are not this. We are not, this is
mm.
not us. We are so much smarter than this. We're so much more creative than this. We're so much more knowledgeable than this. Um,
And you know what I realized as well, which is interesting, because you and I, when we watch things unfold, in the Hollywood scene, for example, or in the political scene, it makes sense to me why what these people are doing is to push symbolism because a lot of these people are in their ego. They're not in their hearts. Like that whole scene, the whole kind of Hollywood political scene, it's all about the ego. People want power, people want fame. So they are the classic example of types of people who would be controlled subconsciously by the matrix to spit out symbolism. And it was so interesting because someone said to me the other day, I'm confused about Greta. She's all for climate change and this and that. Like she's pushing that narrative. But now she's going to Palestine on the flotilla to fight for these people. Like, so she's doing a good thing and then she's doing a bad thing. And I'm like, it's all because it's subconscious control and it's the she's she's spreading symbolism in both those things that she's doing, you know? So we can't look at people as like they're bad or they're good. They're bad, they're good. We have to look at them as what aspect are they playing? What role are they playing to give us clues about the symbolism, about the matrix or whatever?
yeah, exactly. And this ties into what I'm going to talk about with forgiveness because it's like imagine watching a movie and I don't know, trying to think of someone that plays like a really good villain, like maybe I don't know, I can't think of anyone right now, but let's just say your favorite actor.
The Joker.
Okay, what's his name? Joaquin Phoenix. I don't know how to say his name, but let's just say him. Okay, you watch the Joker, and then you see him, the actor, in the like on your social media or something, and then you feel all this hatred towards him because you think he is the Joker, but he's not. He's an actor playing the Joker. Like it's when you realize that we're all actors, like unconsciously we're all actors playing out scripts. It's when you really, really realize it, it's a game changer because it makes it so much easier. Like just like Jesus said on the cross, "Forgive them, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." It's the exact same. That's what that's about. It's the fact that we are unconscious of the fact that we are playing roles. So when somebody, like, let's say somebody's like really, I don't know, insulting you
Yeah.
or ridiculing you, making fun of you, right? Which we're used to that, right? We've had a lot of that
That didn't do that.
over the past 12 months. It's important to remember that their subconscious has access to full all everything that their subconscious knows. There's no difference. Like what my subconscious knows, your subconscious knows. It
Yeah.
has access to all the same information. There's no like hiding anything in the subconscious realm. You can't hide things from each other.
Yeah.
You can do that here, but not there. So when somebody is, being mean to you, you got to remember their subconscious is in bondage. Their subconscious is muzzled. Their subconscious knows the truth. Their subconscious probably wouldn't be mean, right? But and when you have to look at them, like you have to look through them and see who they really are behind all that meanness and try to hold space for forgiveness and patience in your heart for them because their true self, that's not them. It's not really who they are. And so if you want to really end all the suffering and, do like accomplish something great in life, that's step one. Like you have to have forgiveness. Like forgiveness, I have learned is the most important thing. It really is. It's even more important than like empathy and compassion because I don't think you can actually have empathy and compassion while you've got a heart full of bitterness and resentment towards people. I mean, I've been on the earth long enough to see how people just cannot put themselves into someone else's shoes. And it's so frustrating that people live like that, like so selfishly that they can just go around making decisions that actually make life more miserable for others. And yet they genuinely think they're good people, and I've realized over the years, like there's some blockage here. There's something blocking them from having empathy, from being able to look at another being, another like sentient being, and try to have some compassion for what they're going through. Like, it's so bizarre, especially with like the whole Gaza thing and Palestine thing. Like, that was the cherry on the cake for that for me. I was like, wow, I can't believe people can just scroll through social media, see babies being buried under rubble and just not care.
Yeah.
Like, how is that possible? Like, how is this possible? I was going through like the darkest night of the soul. That was like the end of 2023. I was like, there is something real, and that was the catalyst for me for starting the white pill account. That was the catalyst. I was like, I gotta do something. Like, I gotta get this out, I've got to get this, I gotta express myself now. And I've learned like, yeah, there's something forgiveness. And so like going back to Erica Kirk and there was that thing about her forgiving the killer and then everyone was the assassin. And then the man who killed her husband. And then Jimmy Kimmel cried, like he shed tears over the fact that she forgave him. There's a lot of symbolism around, and then everyone was like saying, oh, like everyone was kind of criticizing her for saying that and making forgiveness. Like that's kind of like a massive example of like the ultimate forgiveness. Like if you're forgiving someone for killing your husband, like that's a big deal. That's basically the subconscious, the collective subconscious giving out a massive breadcrumb right there, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
So basically that's all tied in. The forgiveness is all tied in with your compare. So basically, Erica's playing the spirit. So
Yeah.
think of Erica like Snow White and Charlie like Robin Hood. So there's a lot of emphasis on her and controversy around her because she's what is like when Jesus in okay, the Jews and the sorry, the Muslims and the Christians, they debate about something about what Jesus meant when he said, I need to go so that the comforter or the helper can come. He
Hmm.
was saying to his disciples, if I don't go, the comforter, like the comforter, like I have to go for the comforter to come.
Yeah.
And so the Muslims and the Christians debate, they're like, the Christians say, no, he was talking about the Holy Spirit. And the Muslims say, no, he was talking about Prophet Muhammad. They're both right. They both represent the same thing. And so that's the role that she's playing. She's playing the helper. Like in some of the headlines about her, they were like calling her husband's helper.
Mm.
And so there's a lot there. There's a lot there because she plays a massive, massive role. Think of her as the heart chakra and him as the throat. Okay, that's why he got shot in the throat. Um, the high priest is here, and so think of like that's the nun. She's the nun. He's the priest. Think of it like that. Um, and so when they went on that, like, see, they when they went on their first date, it was at a place called Bill's Burgers or something. So BB 88. And they specifically were there for 3.5 hours. That's eight. And that's where he said to her, I'm going to date you. So the dating thing is massive because when we think about dating, two people dating, we just think like man and woman dating, or the engagement is actually symbolically the same thing.
Yeah.
Because in some cultures, there's no dating, it's just straight up engagement, you know? So it's the same thing in the spiritual realm. So a date, it's called dating because a date that you eat, it grows on a palm tree.
Hmm.
Now, what does the palm stalk look like? I don't know if I've talked to you about this before. It looks like a crescent moon.
It does actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks like a crescent moon. So going on a date represents the waxing crescent.
Mm.
Now, the Feast of Trumpets, going back to that, what's that about? That's about when like I said, it's the only Jewish holiday that is determined by the first sighting of the moon, which is a waxing crescent. It's the first time you see the moon. Before that, it's a new moon, which means you can't see it. So, and that's when they blow the trumpets. And there's a reason why Snoop Dogg's performance had a lot of those instruments, the trumpets. You could hear it, like they actually recorded it to sound like it was coming from the field with all the marching band
Yeah.
instrument instruments, and um, even the didgeridoo was playing behind him at one point by the guy with the initials BB, Baker's boy or whatever his name was, playing the didgeridoo. Didgeridoo and trumpet represent the same thing as the shofar, which is what they blow in Jerusalem for Feast of Trumpets. It's a ram's horn. Anyway, we could talk about the ram and what the ram's horn represents, but it's basically like the it's all representing the same thing, right? And so the waxing crescent's a really big deal. You also see it in Islam, the waxing crescent, like it's like a massive deal in Islam, right?
Yeah.
So that's why, yeah, so the date, and they break their fast on a date. So think of fasting as the new moon. The new moon, which you cannot see, is the fast. And you break the fast. So the fast is broken with a waxing crescent, which looks like a palm stalk, which the dates grow on. And they eat the date to break the fast. And so that waxing crescent represents the same thing as a date or an engagement, right? Like a man and woman getting engaged represents the same thing. That's why it's breakfast at Tiffany's, because Tiffany's is a place that is like known for engagement rings, and every girl wants her engagement ring from Tiffany's.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know this before last week. I have a friend that's a jeweler who informed me of all this. It's like that's the thing. Like girls want engagement rings from Tiffany's. So break fast at Tiffany's. breaking the fast with an engagement ring, breaking the fast with the date. You're breaking the fast. The fast is the moon when it's that's why like a woman's menstrual it's the same sort of cycle where you're like where you go where you have your period and that's like the fast. You're fasting from everything. You go into the red tent or whatever. You're in your bedroom. You're not doing the things. You're not going to the gym. Well, you shouldn't be anyway. The hormones don't want that. Um, but
Time of resting and
it's a
restoration.
time of resting, exactly. So it's a yeah. So where was I going with that? So he said, I'm going to date you. So the dating thing is basically the soul and the spirit. So what is a waxing crescent? What is that? Okay, let's just say what it is according to what we've been told. I'm not saying it's true or not true. That's not what I do.
Mm.
That's not my area to try to investigate, oh, is the earth flat or is it round or is it, what's really going on? Like, that's not my area. But symbolism is symbolism, whether it's true or a rumor or a conspiracy theory, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Sometimes things mean more when they're conspiracy theories. When they're just conspiracy theories, they're not true. Sometimes symbolically they actually mean more as a result.
Yeah.
So whatever the truth is, this is what we're told. We're told that the sun reflects its light, that the moon that's coming off the sun, the light that's coming off the moon is coming from the sun. That's what we're being told, right?
Yeah.
That's what they teach us in schools. So what is a waxing crescent then? That is the soul reflecting its light on the spirit.
Spirit, yes.
So now let's get into soul and spirit because the soul is really the soul that we're dealing with is a soul that's trapped. It's
Yeah.
a soul that's trapped in the solar plexus and in the lower energy centers
Yeah.
because the heart chakra is not pure. So it needs to let the the heart needs to become purified so the soul can become unlocked. So Neo in the Matrix, he's dodging bullets. He's got some level of like, skill and power and stuff because he's doing that cool bullet dodging stuff.
Yeah.
But Morpheus says one day you won't have to dodge bullets. So until he gets to the point where the bullets actually stop in front of him, he hasn't activated his full potential because, yeah. And so what happens is that
Because he still
Trinity,
he has to still do something.
there's still stuff that needs to be done.
It's
So
not,
basically, when he's dodging the bullets, he's at the 8-8 level. He's 88. He's waiting at the gate.
yeah.
So in the subconscious, the chosen ones who are waiting at the gate, the 88, Lions portal, because their soul and spirit are dating,
Yeah.
okay?
It's
They
like dodging all the programs in the Matrix.
not all of them, but to some degree you are. Like to some degree you've unlocked, you've broken out
Yeah.
of you're going off script,
Yeah.
right? You're
Yeah.
you're actually going a little bit off script and you are in the subconscious realm. You are already a superhero.
Yeah.
The humans can't see that yet. The conscious state cannot see that. In fact, if anything, they see you as a loony bin. Okay, that's how you look to them, and that's fine. There's a reason for that. We'll talk about that later. It's not our job to worry about what they think about us.
No.
So, but in the subconscious realm, their subconscious sees us as like, or them, right? As like celebrities, like because you've gone off script. You're not the program is controlling most people. But the ones that go off script, or the ones that like, start to see through everything and get to that place where it's like they remove that sense of tribalism. It's like, oh, we're not all we're actually all
And separate,
one.
like the sense of separateness.
Yeah, exactly. That sense of separateness is gone because now you realize, oh, we're all one. Like it sounds a bit cliche, but it's true. Like we're all like part of the same spiritual body. It's like
Connected, yeah.
we're all connected. Like once you get to that point where you realize we're all connected, like you realize it with it's not just like a mental thing, like we're all one. But you're living that truth. You got to be living that truth. That means your thoughts and your desires and your speech and your actions have to reflect that truth. It has to be something that you really know. It's not you're not just one of these fake spiritual people on Instagram.
It's embodied.
It's embodied.
It's not like a concept that someone told you or you heard about and you just walk around talking about it. You actually get it. You embody it. You see it playing out in front of you. You see how you're connected. Everything in this realm is connected. And it's like a hive mind kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So you're living it out. And that makes your soul and spirit are now dating
Which is what,
because your soul,
yeah.
sorry?
Which is what you were saying about the guy dodging the bullets. That's the process of the dating, the 8-8.
Yeah, so when he's dodging the bullets, he's at the 8-8 level. He's got some degree of like
Yeah.
extra oomph, extra power, but
Yeah.
he's not quite there yet. It's not until Trinity unlocks him from the solar plexus to rise, then he gets up and he says no because she kisses him, right? That's actually what a kiss represents. That's actually kissing. That waxing crescent is also a kiss because now the spirit is allowing the soul to start coming up, right? And so um and so it passes the soul and the spirit go kiss, and then the soul keeps going up and becomes the high priest, right? And so the the she unlocks him here, then she says, get up, right? So he's got to get up from there. Now he goes here. Now he says no. He literally gets up. The bullet, Agent Smith is like about to shoot him. He gets up and he says no. So that's now activation of the throat. So now his soul rises up to the third eye. By the time like now his third eye chakra is now the dormant DNA is activated. He's become his full potential. Now the bullets stop in front of him. They just stop and they fall to the ground. He picks one out of the air, I think, from memory. But yeah, so that's when people say, "Oh, I've activated my third eye," blah blah blah. No, they haven't. The third eye, you'll know. You'll know if one human being has truly activated their third eye. You know how you'll know? Because the whole world will change, and that's why the Bible says, "Every eye shall see and every ear shall hear." So it talks about Jesus' second coming, and it says, "Every eye shall see and every ear shall hear." And that's why the Christians say no one can claim to be the Christ because everyone would know. And it's true. Everyone would know if someone has activated their Christ consciousness because the whole world will change. Like everything, there's going to be a whole recoding. And you know why? Because you know that saying, like, where there's light, there can't be darkness. So if you want the darkness to disappear, like if you don't want darkness, just turn the light on and the darkness will just go by default because the light is here. So there can't be darkness. It's the same thing. Once there is one fully enlightened being on this planet, the whole planet has to change. It has to because there's an enlightened being here. And that means that there's going to be like a recoding. You know how we say nature is cruel?
Mm.
Nature won't be cruel anymore. There will be no more cruelty in nature. I know how crazy that sounds, but it's not going to be like that's exactly what's going to happen. Like because it's a simulation, everything's coded.
Yeah.
When you believe that like we came from, fish or whatever, and you believe in this whole theory about like we evolved over millions of years and stuff, yeah, you're not going to get that. You're going to be like you're going to call me a loony bin. But when you know it's a simulation, it's all coded, and there's a higher power that has the power to override everything that's here, and that's the nine energy. It's just like this overriding power. That's why Hitler represents the nine, because Hitler was a dictator. He came in, he hated democracy, right? And we live in a spiritual democracy. And look at the earth. Look at us. I mean, look at where we are. We need a dictator to come in and fix this and take full control. And that dictator is the nine. And I hate to use Hitler as an example, like, but Hitler is symbolic of the nine, as evil as he was. And that's how messed up the collective subconscious is, that it's creating symbolism, like that, like using really horrific things, horrific events to drop breadcrumbs and clues for us to decode. That's how messed up, that is actually how messed up everything is. And he was born in Austria.
Mm.
Oz is the land of Oz. It's the subconscious. It's the subconscious realm. He comes through the subconscious. He gassed most of the Jews in Auschwitz. Auschwitz. What does a Jew represent? A chosen one. What does the nine do with the chosen ones? He raptures them. He takes them out of the simulation, comes in and, takes them out of here to go to the real world. Like Dorothy goes to the Emerald City.
Mm.
And then of course they return to help everyone else. So the dating and the all that stuff. So Charlie Kirk and like they were married, and I think marriage is actually like the full moon. So when the moon is full, that is the marriage. And I think that is when also when the husband like the husband and wife or the soul and spirit can give birth to the enlightened self, which is why the like what is it, the new moon for a woman is when she's having her period, and I think the full moon is when she's ovulating.
Mm.
Yeah, that's right. So when you're ovulating, that's the full moon because that's when you can have a baby. That's when you can conceive a child. So when the soul and spirit are fully aligned with each other, that is when it can give birth to the enlightened self. So the sun is fully reflecting all over the moon. So the enlightened self is the third eye chakra.
Mm.
So, well, it's the nine. It brings in the nine. So, when at Mecca, you've got the Kaaba. See, I've made a mistake in the past. I said that the men in white, so that women, well, they wear black, they're going around the Kaaba, and the men are dressed in white, and the women were dressed in
Yeah.
black. And I said that's sun and moon. No, I was close, but it wasn't quite that. The men dressed in white, that represents the sun reflecting on the moon, like fully reflecting on the moon. That's the sunlight on the moon. And then the women represent the new moon. So the black is the new moon and the white is the full moon. Yeah, and the sun is basically when like the sun comes later.
Mm.
So okay, so the Muslims, right, they believe that the soul needs to be uncovered and the spirit, which they don't call it spirit, they call it the heart. But the heart, that hides spirit because your spirit, it guides you through your heart.
Yeah.
So, which is why in the Bible it says the heart can be deceptive. That's why you can't trust your heart. That's why they say trust your gut, because your gut is where your soul is, and your soul is neutral. Your soul doesn't need purification. It just needs to be uncovered, just like the Muslims say. The soul needs to be uncovered, the heart needs to be purified. Well, how do you uncover the soul? You do it, you uncover it by purifying the heart, by purifying the spirit. And so in the past, I was saying like, oh, when the soul is reflecting the pure spirit, that's when you're at the 8-8. But I was saying it the wrong way around. Like this whole thing is a learning journey. And I always look back and go, oh, I was close, but I wasn't quite there, or I was half right, or whatever. And that's just the process here. So always remember that when you're looking at my old work. But what I realized is that no, 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 it's the other way around. And that's why the full moon represents the marriage of the soul and spirit, because it's the spirit that needs to become purified to reflect the purity of the soul. And that's why the sun's light is reflected on the moon and not the other way around, because it has the sun is the one that's already pure. It just needs to be uncovered. And so all the chemtrail stuff and oh, they're covering the sun, they're covering the sun. That's all symbolism for covering the sun. And it needs to be uncovered. We need to uncover it because that's the key. The spirit, when it's impure and it's not reflecting the goodness of the soul, it's a new moon, so it's dark.
Mm.
And so that's where most people are.
Like if you can imagine, if someone is able to bring in the nine and attain like Christ consciousness or whatever people want to call it these days, because that happens, the coding does have to, when the coding changes, it's almost like we don't need that symbolism of the sun and the moon anymore. So it's like
Okay,
we're not going to have day and
think
night.
about it. Think about it. I know this is crazy. I know that Jason Brashears, if anyone's listening and you're familiar with Jason Brashears' work, I know that he talked about like,
Archaics.
yeah, archaics. I know he talked about this different kind of atmosphere with a different kind of light, like the temperature of the light is different, like the color of the light is different, and the everything's magnified in space, and like, the vapor canopy, and like because it's more humid, everything grows bigger. If anyone knows where I can find him talking about this stuff, because um, when you realize, like in Genesis, it talks about the day and night being separated. Well, that's the spirit and the soul being separated. Like we are living in separation. We either have sunlight, it's either day or it's night. It's either winter or summer. It's
Duality
showing us the separation of the soul and the spirit.
and the dual.
Um, and so what we're dealing with here right now is we've got a soul, but the soul is trapped, and
Mm.
it's just like we're dealing with like this lower octave. It's so the real world is a lot like like people think that the spirit realm is like heaven is just spirit. No, it's not. It's not. It's a real place. It's a real place. Like this feels real. Like you can touch things and
Mm.
smell things and stuff. Like it's a place like that. The spirit realm is just a portal to the real world. It's like Dorothy goes to the land of Oz, but but she wants to go to Emerald City. Like there's another place she's got to go to after she gets to the Land of Oz. Like the Land of Oz is the connector, it's the bridge, it's the spirit realm, it's the subconscious. Then you go to Emerald City, and Emerald City is this big magical place. Like remember in Wicked, like they go into Emerald City and they're singing and dancing and there's so much excitement because it's the real world. And so what we're dealing with here is like this lower octave of the real world. It's just a simulated version of the real world. It's
Yeah.
not the real world, but it's similar in the sense that it's not just spirit. Our true selves, our spirits that are like disconnected from the soul, we have to come here in order to transform ourselves. So when we're in spirit, we have all the knowledge, like we know who we are. We have all the memories are there of our whole existence.
And
When we
knowing.
come here, we have amnesia. We're like goldfish. Like we come here, we don't know who the hell we are. We're helpless. We don't know anything. We create an identity around our families, our religions, our nationalities, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but so it's like, well, what's the point? Why would you want to be here when you're living in amnesia? You don't know who you are. Well, the reason why is because there's something about being here. It's like because it's like we've been given this gift of some sort of like some level of a soul. It's like we've been gifted with some level of a soul, like a lower octave of a soul, in order to have the chance to purify our unpurified spirits. And I don't know what the backstory is there, why our spirits are not pure. All I know is that we were pure. That's
Yeah.
all I know. Like when they talk about the the rock in the Kaaba
Yeah.
in Mecca, in Mecca they talk about the rock, the black rock, and they say that it used to be white, but it was the sins of man that made it black. Yeah. So our spirits originally were pure. Something happened along the way, and now our spirits are impure. And in order to purify them, we've got this simulated reality where we can come in and play these roles. And you know how they say that, like, I think 10% of our choices are conscious, and then 90% is the subconscious,
Mm.
something like that. So most people are walking around, what we all are to some degree, allowing the subconscious to have full reign of our choices. But what we're supposed to be doing is trying to override that with our conscious choices. So like, I don't know, you walk into a bakery and you see like donuts, that are not good for you. but you're hungry and you want to eat like a whole box of donuts. So what are you going to do? Are you just going to eat because that's what you feel like impulsively you want to do? You want to eat a whole box of donuts? Or are you going to go, you know what? I want to eat the donuts, but I know they're not good for me, so I'm just going to buy one or whatever. So that's a conscious choice that you've made to override the impulse. So we have to learn like discipline, like getting up at a certain time, going to the gym, like all this stuff is symbolic. It's it's not the deeper stuff. The deeper stuff, a lot of people they think they have discipline because they're like accomplished or they're really like, educated or they're really like disciplined in like when it comes to their body. They go to the gym and they're like whatever, like they're very talented at something because they put the practice in or whatever. So they think, "Oh, I'm disciplined." But really deep down inside, they're emotional wrecks, or they're like they can't control their emotions, or they can't control have like their bad thoughts, or they have a temper issues, or they have like a lot of like unhealed traumas. Like they're not trying to work on the deeper stuff. They're like maybe I
Or
don't
they're
know.
like sexually leaky or something like.
Yeah, like they don't have control of their sexual impulses, or I don't know, like they have a lot of resentment towards people that they're not working on. They're not trying to purify their hearts or so they on the outside it looks like, oh yeah, look at me, I've got my shit together, blah blah blah. That's all just symbolism. So if they could apply, we should be applying the same. The reason why people don't apply the same effort to the inner work is because they don't get those instant rewards.
They're not seen like validated through visual. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like really if you work on being a really good person, like controlling your thoughts, keeping having taking your thoughts captive, just being a good human being, like
Having
um
integrity, honesty, honor.
being honest, being authentic, being loyal, I don't know, being patient, like all of these
Living.
things, if you really embody all these like really high value, high frequency traits, you don't get that instant reward. Like you don't get rewarded for that really. Like it's not like when you go to the gym and I don't know, like get a hot body or something like that. Like you can go on Instagram and get instantly rewarded for that.
You can't see someone's good heart. Like you can't see it walking around like on their chest, like that's a beautiful heart right there, like
Exactly. It's hidden. It's part of the hidden reality.
yeah.
So the subconscious, and this is the thing that's so like in Stranger Things, how the end of season 4, it's obvious that in season 5, what's going to happen is the upside down and the real world are now going to merge together. Okay. So it's like that. What's about to happen is that the hidden reality and the seen reality are about to merge together. And so what that looks like exactly, I don't know. But like we were saying about we should see changes in the atmosphere and the lighting and everything because it's not going to be day and night anymore. Like it's going to be like merged together and there's going to be no more like summer, winter. But how that works with us, it makes me wonder, are people that are ugly on the inside going to start looking ugly on the outside? And people who are beautiful on the inside are going to start looking beautiful on the outside? Like, I don't know. Like, I kind of think that would be cool. Because we have a lot of people in the world that focus on the external, and the internal is quite ugly. I mean, like how many times like you think you like someone because they look good, and you get to know them, and it's like, oh, like actually no. You know, how many people on social media, how many influencers are like, it's all for show, but then or celebrities, and then you hear like, oh, actually, that's not very. He's not a very good person. That's what they say. Don't like meet your what is it? Don't meet your heroes. Like don't try to meet your heroes. Like because they might not be who you think. Um,
And the same as the OnlyFans thing, like women are getting paid millions of dollars to appear, beautiful or doing things that are attractive to men, and they're making like so much money off that when you have like people who are good people saving lives or whatever, and they're just like struggling
yeah,
financially.
exactly. It's all yeah. And so, but the symbolism, it's you could there's also symbolism in like the men being visual creatures
Mhm.
and women, beautiful women, like women that focus on beauty, they get rewarded for that. They get validation and stuff like that. And the reason is because the beauty represents something.
Mm.
So outer beauty represents inner beauty. So it's, like obviously, people that are beautiful on the outside, it's not, I'm not saying it's a reflection of who they are on the inside, but beauty in general, like how beautiful something looks, is really symbolic of the beauty of the feminine energy, which is the spirit.
Yeah.
So the spirit is feminine and the soul is masculine. So if there's beauty, it's symbolic of inner beauty, of the beauty of the spirit or the heart. And so when you think about how men are visual creatures and how they're so attracted to vi visual and physical beauty, in this, it's what it's telling you is that the nine energy, the soul in its full capacity, which is the highest energy, which is like basically God, okay? At its with all the energies, like it's like a babushka doll, and it's the big babushka on the outside, okay? So that's the nine. And so that is really like basically it's showing you that the soul, the pure soul, well, I mean the soul is pure, but like the full highest octave of the soul is it cannot resist the beauty of a pure spirit. It can't resist it. Like men have to get their hands on a beautiful woman. Like or they have to try, or whatever. They can't stop thinking about her, whatever. It's like there's this impulse that they can't, it's so hard to fight for them. And so in the same way, the soul, when you purify your spirit, it's going to magnetically attract the nine energy, like the purified eight, that the nine cannot resist it. It has to have it. It has to be merged back. And so the spirit and soul come back together to create the enlightened self.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Going back into how, this is a simulation and we have like a higher aspect of ourselves somewhere else waiting to merge. I had an ayahuasca experience a few years ago, and at the time I didn't really understand what I was being shown, and it wasn't until the symbolism that you've gone through piece things together for me. But I was shown that we are like I was shown this realm, like this place that was just like heaven on earth, right? And then I was shown that our soul comes down, and it was like the Matrix, like we come down into an avatar here where we have to play things out, right? But ultimately we want to go back up there, like and and a lot of like what you're talking about ties into what I was shown, which at the time, yeah, I was like, this is interesting. Why are you showing me this? I don't really understand. But obviously, as time goes on and the more work we do, the more internal work we do, the more wisdom we gain, and the more realizations we have, that's something like that I will never forget. And I'm just curious if anyone else has had that experience on plant medicine or visions or downloads. Yeah, which is pretty cool. And I think the movie Avatar is very symbolic as well in relation to that, which we haven't actually watched and decoded, hey, from memory.
No, and the part two is coming out soon, so we'll have to watch part one.
Part three.
Oh, is
There's
it part three? There's already two parts?
there are two parts, yeah.
I did not know that. Okay, so we're gonna have to sit down and watch them before this one comes out.
I want to talk about too is this whole autism thing, the symbolism behind the autism and Tylenol, right? We've been talking about this and how we think that, how there's different types of autism, um, but the really bad autism where you're like non-verbal, you can't really express yourself, you can't really, it's
No
like,
eye, no eye, like you lose the eye contact and
yeah, that you were saying that's symbolic of like the lack of like the spirit not being in merging. Would you?
no,
Yeah,
no, no. Yeah, because it took me a while with the autism one because the spectrum is so wide
yeah.
and it includes like all sorts of things. And what it does is it's hiding this type of autism that is not spoken about. It's kind of like there's this whole community of families that are screaming in a vacuum and they're being then unheard. And even that itself is symbolic because that kind of autism that they're dealing with is that autism that's like, you know, the kids are in helmets or non-verbal. They used to know their name, but now they forgot because, they went and got this injection, right? And everyone's telling them, no, that didn't cause it, right? It's so frustrating. Um, and now, yeah, non-verbal, lose eye contact. Like it's like they become trapped in their bodies and they can't express themselves. It's like that child that was once there is now like buried inside the body somewhere, and you've got to do all this detoxing to pull the child out. I mean, these there's families that are using they're resorting to like telepathy and stuff to try to get messages out of their kids, you know, because they can't express themselves. Like it's really this is really like the beginning of me waking up. 2013 when I realized what was going on with the vaccines. That was it. When I saw what they were doing to these kids and how like the whole freaking mainstream community was turning on these families and treating them like they were insane just because they were being brainwashed by the media and they were, oh, vaccines don't cause autism. They were just being like programmed to believe that none of this was actually happening, and in fact it is happening and it was happening for so long. And
Isn't the word gaslight interesting as well? Like that's what's been happening here. Gaslight,
yeah,
gaslight, like your gas is the spirit, right? It's just
yeah,
it
that's right.
just came
Gas
to me.
represents spirit. And
Yeah.
so like the the this whole you can see that this whole vaccine thing has been, vaccine because see, firstly you got to understand what the vaccine represents. Okay, so we'll start there. The vaccine, what is a vaccine? Let's not talk about the conspiracy, not the conspiracies, but let's not talk about like, let's just go with the mainstream view for a second. Okay. Um, what's a vaccine? It's a tiny dose of some sort of like
Pathogen.
virus
Yeah.
or whatever that you inject, and what it does is it's a smaller dose than you would get naturally. This is what it's supposed to be, right? Of course, it bypasses the defense mechanisms and stuff because you're not supposed to catch something through the skin and all that. Let's just not even worry about all that for a
But for
second.
symbolism purposes, we want to talk about what it actually is. So,
Yeah, so it goes basically it knocks at the door of the immune system and it introduces itself as a smaller, dose,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so that you can
developing.
build an immune response
Yeah.
to something so that it doesn't, the full brunt of it later that would come along doesn't kill you or doesn't make you worse because you've already got that defense system, right? As a result of having that smaller dose. So in theory, okay, the theoretically, the vaccine sounds like the best invention ever. Okay, it really, really does. And so what it represents is this idea of your soul, right, being affected by like by a small dose of trauma so that you can go down into the same. It's like Orpheus going down into the underworld to rescue Eurydice, right, in Greek mythology. So sending the soul down into the underworld to rescue your spirit, because your spirit is in hell basically. So it's like something that sends you into a psychological hell state, a catarsis. So you go through a traumatic experience to hopefully help transform you, right? So that you will become, you, as a result of that catarsis, of that psychological descent, of that trauma, you will go down to where your spirit is in bondage, and you will hopefully transform your spirit and rescue your spirit from bondage and come back up so that you will be waiting at the 8-8 portal, right? So that like you can escape, you can get out of the matrix and, help the rest of humanity get out, um, so that you don't have to get stuck in a whole nother cycle of suffering, of karma reincarnation and all that stuff, blah, 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 like all over again. Like who wants that? Nobody. So that's why suffering is the only way out. We actually have to suffer because what happens if you don't suffer? Imagine if the world, this simulation, it's not even the real world, it's just a sim. Imagine if everything was great all the time.
Mm.
Imagine if everything was just always great. Like we wouldn't our spirits would just be sitting in hell waiting for someone to rescue them. It would never happen.
Mm.
Like waiting for their counterpart, their like fake soul, their simulated soul to come and rescue them. And it's not going to happen because there's nothing like making us go down there. You know what I mean? Like who wants to go and visit a prison for fun? Like on a day off. Like you're going to go to the beach or something. Like you're not going to go to the prison.
Yeah.
Like
That reminds
so
me of that Barbie movie with the Australian actress.
Margot Robbie.
Yeah, it's like everything's all good, right? And then it just kind of reminds me of that concept.
I have to rewatch that because I didn't know anything when I saw that last.
Oh, okay.
It's probably yeah, it could be
'Cause
there.
they're
But
in a world that's like perfect for women, and then
there'll be so much in that film. I need to watch it again. I barely remember it.
yeah,
Um,
go
but
on.
yeah, so like that's so now what's the next thing? So they say vaccines, the whole controversy is that vaccines are not as safe and effective as they say,
Yep.
right? Yeah, that's right, because that makes sense because most people, when they have a dose of trauma, what happens? Do they rescue their spirit? No, they get worse. They
Yeah.
go down, and the more of their spirit gets trapped. Because what happens? They become resentful. They become bitter.
They
They
become
they don't like they don't heal their traumas. They just keep collecting these emotional baggage over like every bad relationship, every bad thing that happens. They just keep, and it becomes like emotional baggage, over time. So
yeah.
yeah, that's what happens, and it's not as effective as they say because it doesn't always work.
Yeah, yeah, that makes
Like most of the time, it doesn't work.
no.
What's the other thing they say? Vaccines cause autism, vaccines don't cause autism. And they got that debate. Why? Because the more unconscious you are, the more your true self cannot express itself in the simulation because the program is overriding it. So that's what the animals are telling us, right? Because what runs them? Instinct.
Mm.
So the instinct that they have is so different to what we have. We have choice. We have this overriding mechanism of choice. And so that instinct that they have, we think we have free will. We're like, oh, we got free will. The animals, they've got instinct. They just follow instinct. But we've got free will. The truth is, we don't have free will. That instinct that they have is just a symbol for the program that is controlling us and making us play out our scripts and our roles unconsciously. So the way to break out of that script, the way to some degree, obviously, like until something happens that completely breaks us out, which that's all got to do with Day of Atonement and rapture and all that stuff. But like to some degree, in order to free ourselves from the spirit that's controlling us, like instinct controls the animals, we have to purify our spirit. And so it happens through the few times. Like not many people can do it, but the chosen ones, they do. The ones, when I say chosen, anyone can be a chosen one. The chosen ones aren't just like special people. They can be anyone. But the ones, when I say chosen ones, it's because they're the ones that are going to get raptured, right? They're the ones that are chosen to be raptured. But it's because they chose to become chosen. And so why? What makes them a chosen one? It's because they suffered, but in that suffering, they chose to keep reflecting the light of the sun on their spirit. So yeah, they suffered. Everyone suffers. We all suffer. But they chose to forgive. They chose to remain a good person in a world that treats them like shit. They're not going to match people's low energy. They're not going to, as much as possible. They're not just going to
Yeah.
like become a perpetrator of the same, like they were the same things that they were once victims of. That usually that's what happens. A perpetrator has a victim, and the victim starts to perpetrate the same thing, like the perpetrator. Like that's like a cycle thing, right?
It ends
But
with
they're going
them kind of thing. Like it ends
sorry.
like that ends with them. Like they don't perpetuate the negativity.
That's right. They end those cycles. They're
Yeah.
they're like, no, I'm not going to hold on to this. I'm not going to be bitter towards everyone that comes into my life and be distrusting and be, resentful and take it out on people. I'm not going to assume the worst of people because people have done me wrong. I'm not going to take revenge or have bad thoughts about people in my past. I'm going to let go. I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like you're making those, and those choices are coming from your conscious, like it's coming from your consciousness. Like it's, when we say like that 10% is conscious and 90% is unconscious, subconscious or whatever, unconscious. Yeah. So that's like the conscious overriding and being like, you know what? Because that conscious choice is that's like in Islam you've got the law,
Yeah.
obeying the law, being obedient, obeying, being discipline, obedience. Da, 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 da. That's what that's representing like in some way because it's about overriding the impulses of the spirit to be a certain way or to do certain things or think certain things, say certain things, have certain desires. So for example, like you're like scrolling through Instagram and you're seeing like, I don't know, you're seeing women in really nice dresses and bags and shoes and stuff, and you can see their wardrobes behind them. Now you can choose to be like, oh, and start to like be like, I want that bag. I want that dress. I wish I had a big wardrobe. I wish I had a rich husband. I wish I had, a successful career. I wish I was that pretty. I wish. Now, when we start to like do that stuff, we can either like let that take us down this path of like, you know,
Envy.
like it's destructive. It's destructive. It doesn't end well when you start to be like that. Like it takes you down a path that is just going to make you more controlled by the program. Or you can be like, no, I'm gonna choose to be grateful for what I have, you know, and like you take those thoughts captive and instead of feeling like these feelings that lead to envy, these low vibrational emotions and thoughts, like you choose, like, you know what? No, I'm gonna change the algorithm so it doesn't keep serving me this stuff. I'm gonna choose to be grateful for what I have, whatever. It can be something as simple as that, like, and it's going to help get you away from being controlled by the program.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
From my experience as well, when these feelings come up, I find that it's always tied to something in my childhood that was not processed. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And if I can pinpoint that time in my childhood or that situation that created some sort of a split in my being, I don't know however else to explain it. If I can pinpoint that part of me, that inner child part of me that created this kind of identity to cope, to survive, and it's causing me to react that way to certain things negatively, and then I come back and kind of integrate that aspect of myself that never was given the space to process those emotions or that trauma or that experience. And once I'm able to do that, then I find that I don't even react anymore. You know what I mean? So I do feel a lot of our childhood stuff and a lot of things that happen during our development tie into the triggers and the traumas that we have like now as adults. Um, and maybe there's a lot of symbolism around children. I don't know if you notice, Annette, like symbolism with children and how we are like children in
Well,
ways.
our conscious self is definitely symbolized as a child. And that, yeah, I won't even get into that stuff because that's going down a whole nother rabbit hole. But yeah, we are, so it's something to keep in mind when I talk about like When I talk about child sex trafficking and pedophiles and stuff, I know it's really like it's the most darkest topic. But
Mm.
again, that's how messed up the subconscious is, that it's using really horrific, real things that are happening in the world that are really horrific and distressing to talk about, to look at, to think about, and incredibly traumatizing for families to go through and for children to go through. But I'm not making the rules here. Like that's symbolism. So there's symbolism with that because we are symbolized as children, like all of us, because the conscious, our consciousness is like a child because it has no access to all the information and knowledge and memories of of our subconscious. Is our subconscious is all knowing basically. It knows everything. It's you can never outsmart. That's the thing. Like you can never outsmart your subconscious. Your subconscious is a bazillion times smarter than the person you think you are. A million times more creative. This is why it's hard to predict things. Like I was trying to predict, who would win the game last night. I said it was the Storms, but the collective subconscious is so much more creative than I could ever be, and it found another way to push out the symbolism without the Storms winning. You know, it was the Broncos, which are, by the way, a lot of my followers who follow NRL knew it was going to be the Broncos, and that just goes to show how like decoding has a lot to do with like it's not just this magical thing you know how to do. Like oh, I can just decode. You actually have to, it's a right brain, left brain balance. So you
Yeah.
have to know a subject really well to decode it properly. Just like you have to watch a movie 2 or 3 times to decode it properly. Because the left brain, it's a left brain and right brain. It's not just like I'm channeling information. Like it's not like that. That's not what decoding is. It's real left brain, right brain coming together. And another thing is another reason why we are symbolized as children is because we are under we are under the rings of Saturn. So Saturn is in control. So you know that Coldplay song, I used to rule the world. Da, 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 da. The Viva la Vida, it's called.
Yeah.
So that's about Saturn. That wasn't me that realized that. It was like some other decoder, and then someone told me, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Saturn. Like as soon as you said there's a song about Saturn, I went and looked at the lyrics. I was like, oh, that's Saturn. Like so Saturn is like in control. Saturn is because it's like Elphaba and Glinda, Wicked. Okay, the film Wicked. A lot of you know that film. Like I just shouldn't have to explain it because it's promoted really hard, and part two is about to come out, so you're going to get all that promotion all over again. Um,
Right.
but Elphaba's the Green Witch. Glinda is Ariana Grande. And where are they? They're at Shiz University. And who's the headmistress? Madame Morrible. She's Saturn. Okay. So we're all like students. We're all like children because we're in the sim. Like the simulation is like symbolized as a classroom. So classroom, university, childcare center, like all these things, they can symbolize us in the simulation because Saturn is the parent energy. It's like a teacher parent energy. There's discipline, restrictions, limitations. But not being fully, soul and spirit together, like being in this state of separation is limiting. That's we don't have our full range. Like think about all the dormant DNA that we have. This is dormant because we're separated. Soul and spirit are separated. So we're not even fully human. Like we're not even fully human. Like imagine when that dormant DNA is activated. You can't even imagine it. Like I can't even imagine it. But
Mm.
just think about the superheroes. Superman. Think about Jesus walking around, resurrecting people from the dead and restoring eyesight and things like that, healing crippled people. Like think that level. We're talking about that level of what's possible. Like if you can imagine it, it's possible. That's what. So the fact that we can't do all that, and we're so incredibly limited. You break your arm, you got no choice but to go to a hospital. Yeah, no one's going to come along and miraculously heal your arm. You can't fix it any other way. You have to go to a hospital. You have to freaking manually, like, someone has to put you under anesthesia. You have to, it's all manual. It's all like so limited.
Mm,
It's just, we're so limited here. We have no idea, which is why she sings the song, Elphaba sings the song, Unlimited.
mm,
She said it goes unlimited together we're unlimited together we are unlimited. Why? Because she's the spirit and Ariana Grande is the baby soul. That's
mm.
why she picks the color of the yellow brick road. And remember at the end, and I
Yeah.
knew I was like, she's gonna be the one to pick the color because she's the baby soul, and that's what the yellow road represents.
Yeah.
And like it's the soul, the trail going from like it's the trail of the soul. It's traveled through the subconscious, through the land of Oz into the simulation, and it leads to Neptune. Yeah, we just have no idea. Like the unlimited, the ones who become unlimited, the ones who the chosen ones who were going to go, come back and restore, have their become their full enlightened, full potential selves, they're going to be the new celebrities. And you can already see that. Like the symbolism is telling us that. It's pretty crazy. Like there was this video of this actress that was pretending to be upset that that Hawk Tuah girl took her role in some film, and she's pretending to be upset, and that went viral. So that's just one example of many of like how the celebrities, what we think of celebrities, like we when we think of celebrities, we think of who do you think of? You think of like famous Hollywood
But just
actors and
so people know, Haktua represents 811 because
yeah, Haktua is yeah, because T is 20, which you drop the zero, you got the two is two ones, H is the eighth letter of the alphabet, so that's a H11 right there. So
symbolically that means like the eight is taken over the celebrities, which is the people who were enlightened. Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to type.
yeah, so I mean, you got 7-Eleven, 8-Eleven, 9-Eleven. So most people are 7-Eleven. Then 8-Eleven, really, no one is really 8-Eleven yet. That's the truth. But there are people on the planet that are going from 7 to 8. They're in that process.
Yeah.
And then once the 8-Eleven actually happens at the rapture or the Day of Atonement or whatever you want to call it. There's something that takes place. I won't get into it now, because that's a whole topic about exactly what happens once you're raptured in that 3 days that you're basically clinically dead. Okay, I said it. And then yeah, you come back, and then in that time, there's all this stuff that happens. So we won't get into it, but that's when you become, just like that's when like the 8-11, you become 8-11, and then you return as 9-11. So Dorothy, she's in 7-Eleven when she's in Kansas. She lands in the land of Oz in the house. She crushes the Wicked Witch of the East. The Wicked Witch of the East is the 7. Dorothy's the 11. So now Dorothy's 8-11 basically. And then she gets to Emerald City. She's supposed to become 9-11 when she gets there, but she doesn't because it turns out the wizard has no power. He has no real power. And that's because the 8 is the Wicked Witch of the West. And she really, supposed to be wearing those shoes. But anyway, she's not wearing those shoes. And Dorothy's wearing the shoes. And it's because the Wicked Witch of the West needs to be purified because she's unpurified. And that's when you can't, then there's no purification of the spirit. The bridge is closed. There's no, like, it's like you can't get to the 9.
Yeah.
But it's not because you have to fully purify your spirit because you can't do that. Like I said before, nothing fully pure can exist in this simulation without without some sort of intervention, without some sort of spiritual intervention, without some sort of like help from the outside, really. But it's like, when you do a fundraiser with a philanthropist, and
Yeah.
then they say, okay, you raised 50 grand and I will match 50 grand. I will match you the other 50 grand. It kind of works like that. So the chosen ones are not they're not people that are walking around with chips on their shoulders going, I'm better than everyone else. I'm pure. Everyone's impure. I'm pure. It's nothing like that. It's about trying your best in a really messed up world that makes it really hard to be good, but you're just doing your best. You're just doing whatever, like God knows the heart. God knows if you're really trying your best
Yeah.
and you're really living sincerely and authentically and doing your best at every opportunity, while also having to survive, you know, and take care of yourself as well. So self-love is part of that. Um, so it's learning, it's just doing the best you can until that time comes when the gate opens up, and just because that's what's going to get you waiting at the gate, the 8-8 portal.
Yeah. I just want to backtrack a little bit to the whole autism thing because there was one really important component that we didn't touch on, and it's the Tylenol, and which obviously it's a painkiller, right? So based on what you described, the symbolic meaning of vaccines and autism, how that was symbolism ties into the symbolism. When you think of Tylenol, what it represents, it's a painkiller, it's a numbing. So I think we spoke about this and how when you try and numb your pain and your suffering, it's going to cause that autism that, is not often acknowledged, where your spirit can't be expressed through the body. So I think that's a really big piece to also,
Yeah, so the controversy, like what people are saying online as a result of that press conference with RFK Jr. and Dr.
oh,
Oz, and also Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Robert, what's the nickname for Robert? Bob, BB, 88.
808.
Um, and what's Trump? What was I saying about trumpets before? Anyway, if we can go into that. So anyway, it's just this whole, anyway, it's hilarious. So what they were saying was, yeah, so Tylenol, and then everyone's like, well, they're hiding the fact that it's vaccines. And yes, RFK Jr. I actually shook his hand when I lived in LA because he came to the Hollywood, what do you call it? The Hollywood Scientology Center was the only place that would screen this film that he wanted to like show people, called Trace Amounts. Anyway, so I met him there and I shook his hand. I was like so, I don't know what the word is. I was so
Starstruck.
nervous. I was so starstruck because like I was really like passionate about the cause at the time, and I still am, of course. But anyway, so he knows the truth. And a lot of people are saying, oh, the Tylenol is just a cover up for the vaccine. Well, they're both symbolic. So the vaccine is, and maybe one day they'll be more like ballsy and gutsy about it and just say it. I don't know, but the Tylenol definitely contributes to the problem symbolically speaking because yeah, it's what is Tylenol? It's numbing the pain, so that you're not going, you can't go down into the underworld to rescue Eurydice. Like you can't go down to rescue because why? Because you're holding on with when you're not listening to your pain, when you're distracting yourself and numbing yourself, you're essentially holding on to your false identity. You're holding on to your ego. That's what it is. That's what the ego is. It's a false identity. With the false identity is the role that you're playing. It's the script that you're unconsciously playing out. And so, how many people do that? People are doing that all the time, every day. Most people are walking around
Yeah.
that, they're numbing themselves, they're distracting themselves, they're
Alcohol, and
substances,
entertainment,
distractions.
drama, even, an obsession with exercise, anything that you're obsessed with, like, or really attached to is a numbing, is a cope. Yeah,
Exactly.
workaholics. There's so
Yep.
many vices.
But there was another thing they said in that meeting that I forgot about, but I remember it being symbolic, highly symbolic as well.
Yep.
Which let me just find it because I don't even think I talked to you about it. There's so much symbolism that I don't even have time to process it. But there was something else. They were talking about something that was a cure or a treatment. Leucovorin.
Uh-huh.
Okay, do you remember that?
I do remember hearing about that, yeah. And it supports the same biochemical pathway as folate. It participates in DNA synthesis and repair.
It was described as something else. when I first read about it, that made me make a connection, like, and realize what it symbolized. But I'm not seeing what it was. Is it? Because I don't know much about this stuff. Is it like a what's a folate? Like what?
So, so folate is vitamin B9.
There you go. There you go. So it's B9. What's B9?
8, 9.
8, 9. It's the 8, 9 coming back
God,
together.
what the hell?
Yes,
I love
exactly.
that. I love how we just made a connection there.
It's
Just
all
we're giving an example to you guys of how we decode shit. There's a little example there.
it's literally all day long. Like I don't even have time to like remember and process. It's everywhere. It's okay. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
One day, what we're doing is going to be mainstream, right? When I
Oh,
first started clocking onto all this stuff, like a year and a half ago, I was like, what the hell? It felt illegal that I was talking about it. I was like, am I, have I just, I was like, I didn't even know, I didn't know anything. Honestly, I thought that I had tapped into the deepest secrets of like the secret societies. And I thought maybe someone was going to come after me. I was like, are they going to come after me for revealing? But I'm like, but I didn't sign any contracts. I didn't make any oaths. Like this was my thinking at the time because I was like, I have discovered the deepest stuff in the whole world. And then as time went by and I was like, oh my gosh, this is literally encrypted messages coming out of the subconscious realm.
yeah,
This is what this is. It's not That's what this is. It's encrypted messaging, and that's what encrypted messages represent. It's this, and it's only for certain people to understand. And it's supposed to be triggering. It's supposed to People aren't supposed to feel neutral about this.
yeah,
In the beginning, I was always like, "Oh, I don't want to offend people. I don't want to offend people." Remember, I was just like walking
yeah,
on eggshells and being afraid to say stuff. And it took me ages to realize that's not part of my job.
no,
It's not part of my job to worry about what people think and how they react to it. I'm supposed to just help, like, help people see it, like to see that I'm just supposed to express what I'm seeing. That's it. I'm just supposed to express what I'm seeing and not worry about what people think because people aren't supposed to feel neutral about this. People are supposed to be either triggered or it's supposed to resonate and they're supposed to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so drawn to this. How many people say like this makes more sense than anything, you know? Or like, yeah, the alternative is you get people fully triggered to the max. Like this
okay.
triggers the crap out of people who are very committed to their belief systems.
They're
So
paradigm.
they think they know it all, or think they know exactly what's going on. They found the truth, they found the perfect religion or the whatever, and like this offends them because it's blasphemous, it's heresy, it's offensive, it's something to everyone that's in that mindset, right? And in the beginning I was like, why does it have to be so triggering, And then I've recently realized it's supposed to be triggering. It's part of the design of this matrix is that the truth is meant to be recognized by the right people and rejected by others. And it's not about the people who are right being able to gloat one day and be like, "Oh, see, I was right, you were wrong." Because, there's a lot of suffering involved with being right and being too ahead of your time. When you're too far ahead of your time, there's a lot of suffering involved in that. You're going to be attacked. And we were attacked. Let's just say
We've
it.
we've dealt with this over and over though, with vaccines, with COVID, and then the 8/11 stuff. Like we copped
Yeah.
it.
So for those of you who are listening for the first time, Doris and I very proudly, it's our proudest accomplishment. We, as lucky as we felt in the beginning when we started to decode stuff, and it was like, wow, this is so cool, like that we can like see this stuff, and it felt very like it felt like an honor, right? But then we started to detect something very, very, very stressful.
Mm,
And it was basically like, how we have 9/11, the event 9/11. Well, there was supposed to be an event that was 8/11. Because
mm,
remember, 9/11 is the 9 is the real world and it's buried under the trauma. So that's why 9/11 was a traumatic event. But 8/11 is where the trauma is. So the 8/11 event was supposed to make 9/11 look like nothing. That's how big 8/11 was meant to be. And that was supposed to be November 8, 2024. Now, you can look us up and you will find some articles about us, calling us conspiracy theorists and blaming us for inciting fear in the city that we live in, Sydney. Um, but we were never contacted by anyone, by the way. I mean, I did have two detectives come to my house beforehand because people called Crime Stoppers. And that is just what they have to do, right? That's just they're obligated. But they thought I was just, I'm sure they thought I was a nutcase. They were very nice. They just, they were very nice. One of them was quite good looking. And it was just, it was like, yeah, it was funny. Like they were here and I mean, I know they walked away, thinking that I was an absolute nutcase. But that was it. We didn't get contacted. Um, you know, there was nothing, there was no repercussions. And all we were doing was just showing people the symbolism. We weren't like,
Making a
it wasn't
grand.
like we just came out with a prediction. We predict this is going to happen. It was like, look at this, like acting like a laser beam. Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that, letting people come to their own conclusions. But then word spreads, and then everyone that's like uninformed and doesn't know what's going on just attack the hell out of us, and then you can imagine like it was so like
We were called witches.
we were called witches, false prophets, like everything under the sun. And had we known then what we know now, we would have just welcomed it with open arms. We would have been like, "Come at us, call us whatever you want. It's all good," you know. But we didn't. So we let it get to us a little bit more than we probably should have. But I think we were pretty strong considering. But now we know the triggering, the way the people are supposed to be triggered. They're supposed to, the wrong people, that when the information lands on the ears and on the eyes of the wrong people, they're supposed to be triggered. They're supposed to reject it. And I'll tell you why that is the case. It's not so that one day we can gloat and say, ha ha, you know, we were right, you were wrong. It's got nothing to do with anything like
We would
that.
never do anyway.
No, I know, but like I know that that's a problem in the red pill community. Like with the vaccines, how many people gloat now? Ha ha!
Um,
You should have listened to us. We
mm.
didn't take the vaccine. We told you, right? Like it's so off-putting, right? Like no one should be doing that. And so it's not what it's about. What it's about it's about it's for them. So basically because we have we can't have our free will imposed on. Like we do have some sort of free will, but we don't have free will in the sense that we're unconsciously playing a script. But the free will that we do have is about we're not supposed to just the script is not just supposed to be overridden. Like we obviously signed up to be tricked, and that we have to like we can't just be told the truth. We can't just have the truth if we don't deserve it. We need to deserve the truth. Okay. So, so basically it's for them so that when the truth comes to light, which absolutely will, and it's not going to be too long before that happens, that they go through an ego, that it gives them an ego death. And it's not just the people that came across and ridiculed. It's the whole world. It's when they go, oh wow, like this the truth was like coming through the subconscious, and the people who were like picking up on it were being treated like they were being burnt at the stake, like figuratively speaking, they were being burnt at the stake because they could actually read the messages coming through the subconscious. And the world burnt them at the stake. And in fact, that's exactly, okay, ready for it? That's exactly what happens in the show Three Body Problem. Is it on Netflix? It's called Three Body Problem. They have a simulated experience. There's like this VR thing that they put on their heads, and it's so real. Like it feels so real. The simulated experience feels so real that they can smell things and they can touch things and taste things, It's like their nervous system is actually wired up to the VR. So it feels so real. So they're in there. Now, every time they go into the video game, they have to solve a problem.
Mm.
Okay, they have to solve a problem. So they get given a problem that they have to solve. Now, in one of the games, the girl solves the problem. She figures it out. She cracks the code and she's correct. And that's when she figures out that there's a three body problem and she's explaining it. The whole thing is called three body problem, right? And she's explaining that there's three bodies and the gravitational pull between them and all this stuff. And then get this, she has to explain she has to explain it to a religious figure, like a priest.
Uh-huh.
And then she's right. So you think like, like when you solve a problem or like you're in an escape room and like you get rewarded for solving a problem, you get a reward for it. Or you're like, whatever, you're in a video game and you do something that's right, you get a reward. You get to go to the next level or you get all these stars or whatever. So
Yeah.
in this game, they wanted to burn her at the stake for being right. So she's going, I'm right. And then he goes, burn her. And then now the fire comes and she's like being dragged towards the fire and like, I don't know, there was this whole big drama. But then in the end, the whole place gets burnt down. And and then the artificial intelligence woman comes in and she comes floating from the sky and she says, congratulations, you passed. So even though she was right, she had to be persecuted before she got rewarded for being right. She first had to go through persecution. Now get this, this is I didn't even tell you this part. But because she did that, because she passed to the next level, in the real world, she got given an invitation to join a secret society.
Wow.
And the invitation like is in an envelope and she pulls it out and she gets invited to go to this secret society event, right? To join the elites because she's now passed, right? In the VR, in the simulation, she passed. What does this sound like, right? This sounds like the rapture,
Yes.
like getting invited to go to the real world. And guess the date written on the invitation.
Was it November
You want
8th?
to get November 8th? Yeah,
God.
yeah. See, the thing is,
What
right?
the fuck, man? Can they make it more obvious for us? Seriously.
No, no, they can't. That this is the thing that the subconscious is screaming. It's screaming at us. It's
Mm.
screaming at us. In a way, it's using metaphors. It's using symbols. It's using archetypes. It's using all this right brain stuff, and it's it's literally screaming at us every day. It was screaming at us about November 8th. Leading up to November 8th, it was literally screaming at us. So on one hand, we had to deal with all this really it was distressing as all hell, okay, because we could see this event that was planned, and we're trying to like it was the hardest thing. It was such a hard experience because we were being treated like mental nutcases by program people, but on the other hand we could see
Try to
this.
say it. Program people, exactly. That's exactly what they are. Yeah.
On the other hand, we could, I mean, we're all programmed to some degree, but severely programmed people were treating us like mental cases. And then on the other hand, we could see all this symbolism. So we're trying to be strong, but at the same time, we're like inside, my heart was just, oh, it was so tough because it was like, I was trying to be strong for everyone, but at the same time, I could see, you know, so we could see so clearly, like the symbolism screaming like something's going to happen on November 8th.
Yeah.
And what's funny about that is that eventually we figured out it was supposed to be blamed on Iran, right? Because we knew at the time. I mean, even one of the articles about us says that you said that it was supposed to be nuclear,
Mm.
when I saw that article the other day, when I read it again, I was like, yes, it's there. It's there. It sounds crazy, but it doesn't matter how crazy it sounds. It's there. The Daily Mail, whatever it was, printed that they said
I
that
didn't
you
know that.
said. Did
Did
you
they
know
say
that?
that? I didn't
It's
know
in the
that.
article. So, which is so good because I wanted that proof there. Because one day the truth's going to come out and people are going to realize, yes, it was meant to be nuclear. That was supposed to be a nuclear event. That was supposed to kick off World War III. I don't care how crazy I sound. I don't care anymore. I'm just going to say it. That day was meant to kick off World War III. It was supposed to be nuclear. And, the symbolism was screaming that at us. And we were keeping that from people. We were like, we mentioned it briefly, but we didn't harp on about it because it was really scary. It's like, do we really need to talk about this is going to be nuclear? Then what happened? We realized it was supposed to be blamed on Iran later. We realized that, okay, that was supposed to be blamed on Iran. Then what happens? On August 26th, the following year, the Iranian ambassador gets kicked out of Australia for the first time in 80 years,
Or
right?
80, 80 years.
80 years. First time in 80 years, an ambassador gets kicked out of Australia. It's the Iranian ambassador who we knew the Iranian government was supposed to be, blamed for whatever was supposed to happen that day. And what does he get kicked out of the country for? So imagine this: you don't live in Australia. You're hearing this for the first time. An ambassador for the first time in 80 years, like first time since World War II, has been kicked out of Australia, and it's the Iranian ambassador. Now, what do you think an ambassador would get kicked out of a country for?
Like planning an inside job kind of thing.
Yeah, but what he got kicked out for was because they reckoned that ASIO, which is the Australian spy agency, who we know probably are our biggest fans or something, right? Because they definitely knew about us last November. And they claimed that the Iranian government, get this, was responsible for firebombing a Jewish delicatessen in the middle of the night, didn't kill anyone, in Bondi. Bondi is in Bondi Beach. Bondi
Big.
Beach is BB88, and then the postcode is 2026, which is 811. And it was done on October 20, which is an 811 because October's 8 on the Roman calendar and 2 is hiding two ones. So there's the 88 and the 811 tied in so much with that event. And then there was another one after November 8 in Melbourne. And we know that Melbourne was also a target for November 8. And
Yeah.
we suspect also Brisbane as well, right? But we know that it was supposed to be along the East Coast. We know for sure Melbourne and Sydney. So the Iranian government was blamed for two events, relatively speaking, quite small, considering that it was being blamed on the Iranian government that has nuclear weapons, and everyone was worried about their nuclear power, right? So here we are worried about their nuclear power, and the Iranian government gets kicked out on October 26th, an 8/8 date, for two events that killed no one. And everyone's like, this doesn't make any sense. Like everyone on the internet was like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like this makes no sense. Yeah, it makes no sense because that was the original timeline was supposed to be that Iran was supposed to be blamed for attacking at least Sydney and Melbourne, possibly also Brisbane as well, with nuclear weapons, which was supposed to kick off World War III. That's what was supposed to happen.
Mm.
And that's why it doesn't make sense because it's like what ended up happening was like plan B because the symbolism has to continue. So, if you think we're crazy, go and have a look at Primal Scream, their last album. Go and have a look at the album they released on November 8. And remember that we were up until November 8, we've been talking about it for months. And on November 7, we were in the city, live streaming. These are videos that are still on our Instagram that we never deleted because we knew that they would age well. And you go and look at the comments, see how much we were attacked. We didn't know Primal Scream was going to release an album on November 8. That was their first album in 8 years. And the eighth track was going to go for 8 minutes and 11 seconds. And it was going to be called False Flags. Like,
Coincidence. Too many
and
coincidences.
it was released on November 8, like that day. Like we didn't know that. And that, like, how many coincidences until it's mathematically impossible? Like how did we know that? Are we like, we didn't know that. That's the thing. Like we're just picking up on the subconscious the messaging coming out of the subconscious, like the encrypted messages. That's it. We don't know what's happened. We just know what we see. We just know what it allows us to understand.
There's one more thing I really want to talk about. If you've finished with all that, yeah. I want to talk about supernatural events. All right. For example, Charlie Kirk and the snake eyes thing, the Mandela effect, when you go to church and like they do that thing where the Jesus's spirit comes in you and you faint, or like miracles happen and exorcisms and all these like magical, paranormal, supernatural things, right? I notice people get really caught up in paradigms because they witness or experience a miracle, right? Or for example, someone said to me, I was challenging the idea that was Muhammad and Jesus and all these prophets real people, and they said, well, there's archaeological evidence. Anyway, the reason why I want to chat about this is because that doesn't really mean anything because we have to remember that this is a simulation and things can be inserted into the simulation. Like, do you want to expand on all of that, Annette?
So there seems to be that okay, like for example, UFOs
Mm,
or yeah, like laying hands on healing, or you pray for something and your prayer comes true, your prayer gets answered, or I don't know, psychic, you go to a psychic and they get in contact with a deceased loved one, or yeah, it could be anything that's got to do with like something that can't be explained.
yeah.
So what happens is that, or past life regression or anything like that. So what happens is that people will have an experience and then they'll use that experience to justify, well, I believe this because this happened. I believe aliens exist because I saw a UFO. I believe that Christianity is the one true religion because I went to a Pentecostal church and I had gold dust, my tooth, I don't know, I had gold dust land on my hands, or I got pushed over by the Holy Spirit, or whatever. Like there's all sorts of things, right? And then people use that to justify like why they go down a certain path and why they pick one belief system, and that becomes their identity and their belief system that they get locked into, and like everything else must be nonsense and all that kind of stuff, right? So it seems to be that that it's part of the design that the subconscious, because like magic is, we call things magic and paranormal, but really they're not paranormal and magic. It's just that we're so limited that we're not aware. We call things miracles that aren't miracles, and we're going to see this in this new age. Like there's going to be miracles are going to become the norm. Miracles are going to become the absolute norm in this new age. But to some degree, these what we call miracles and paranormal things that happen, they're allowed to take place to some degree. And I guess like when we come in, our script already has it written in. Like it's like you are going to have this near-death experience, and you're going to, whatever, you're going to see a UFO or whatever. Like it's all written into our script. So it's allowed to happen, and it's all for the purpose of symbolism. For example, if there wasn't some degree of supernatural stuff happening at a Pentecostal church, or at a stadium with Benny Hinn, stretching his arms out, and like all these, you see these rows of people just collapsing, right? You just see, and they feel a force pushing them down, like, and then the people in the outside will say, oh, it's all fake, and they're all just pretending, but the people that are there are like, nah, and I will tell you, I was one of these people. And you were at dinner the other night and Ursula was there and she was like, yeah, this happened. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even remember Ursula was there. Like, like until that night, I forgot that she was there as well. So it was really nice to have someone, because that was back when we were like, 16. And we went to this Pentecostal meeting thing, like this, anyway, this guy from overseas. It was called the Gold Anointing. It was this whole movement where there was like a gold anointing phenomenon where like you would go to a meeting and like they would ask the Holy Spirit to anoint everyone with gold. And you can see the symbolism in that, right? Gold is the nine. And then everyone would like everyone's feelings turn to gold. I mean, this was when I was like 16, so we didn't have phone, like we didn't have people didn't have their phones out to film all this stuff. But I was there and I saw it, and I can tell you everyone's feelings turned to gold. It was like we were at a magic show, you know? And and it's like, how do you explain that? Like you think that the amount of stuff that magicians do that you can't explain. Like, and it's, and then there was stuff all over my hands, like all this gold stuff, and then it continued to happen over time, and it eventually wore off. But that made me go, wow, wow, I've got all this gold all over my hands. And by the way, the gold feelings went back to being what they were before. It was just they just turned gold temporarily. But like that made me go, wow, I must have found the truth, this must be the truth. I must be on the right path. And it made me get locked in to the Pentecostal denomination. I thought, yes, I found the truth because I experienced this supernatural, paranormal phenomenon that made me, like I must be on this must be the one true religion, whatever. Like,
Or someone who almost died and saw Jesus and came back to life or something.
yeah, like people are like, no, yeah, when people say, I have a personal relationship with Jesus, or I saw Jesus, Jesus came to me, or whatever. And it's like, these are all things that are allowed to happen. Like, it's like there's some sort of permission that allows us to experience some degree of paranormal, certain people that it's written in their script. I mean, I did see a UFO 2 months ago when I was outside taking things off the line, like it was dark, and I was looking up because I'm taking the clothes off the line, and I saw a UFO. I'm telling you, it was a UFO. The old me would probably have become obsessed with that experience. I would have gone down the UFO rabbit hole. What is going on? Who are these aliens? Like, and I would have gotten stuck in this thing, and like, but I knew I was like, symbolism. We live in a simulation. Technically, nothing here is real. When they say like gender is just a construct and like everyone fights about that, like, no, it's not. Yes, it is. Everything is a construct. This whole thing is a construct. Everything is not real. Like when you get into symbolism, you realize that like everything that is created is symbolic of something. It's so incredibly intelligent. And then you stop getting caught up in all the small stuff that usually people find really big. And it's just like, no, like that's just symbolism. Like,
Yeah.
of course, the only thing I would say like that you should be really serious about is you know, um, like when you have the ability to speak for, victims or to do something to help reduce suffering in the world, whatever, that's when you go, okay, yes, it's symbolism. Like what's happening in Gaza is symbolism. Animal cruelty symbolism. The slaughterhouse, what happens in slaughterhouses is symbolism. But it's real. There's real suffering. There's real suffering going on. And the suffering is what's real. And so we don't want to become fully detached from everything and go, oh, and be like just being like spiritual, what do they call it? Spiritual bypassing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just symbolism. It doesn't matter. Like, no, no, this matters. Like it really does matter. When it's a moral issue, you put the symbolism aside and you do what's right. You can acknowledge its symbolism, but still do the right thing. In fact, that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's how you get to the 8-8 gate. You're supposed to be like Robin Hood. You're supposed to be, doing what's right, despite how hard it might be or how scary it might be to do it. So
Well,
yeah,
that's
just
why we say those who have the hearts to see symbolism, like the ones who have pure hearts, will see it. It's a heart frequency thing because if you see symbolism and you don't have a purified heart or you're not your heart's not in the right place, I just feel like it can be taken advantage of, you know what I mean? In a negative way
yeah,
or
it's probably why they're not allowed to see it.
yeah, I just feel like
It's actually pretty cool.
yeah, whereas we see it, but we still care. We still care about what's playing out. We're not like spiritual bypassing. We're like, oh yeah, children in Gaza, it's symbolic, but that's all right. Like they'll be fine. They're dying. Like it's just symbolic. No, like we care. We speak about it. Like we try and do things in our life that can make a change, whatever. Same with vaccination, same with it, like, um, but imagine if someone who didn't have the heart aspect was seeing symbolism, they'd just be like, that's what they would do. They will spiritually bypass, and they wouldn't care. It just doesn't make sense, for people to be able to decode when they're not on that frequency anyway, for very good reason.
Yeah, we learned that the hard way
Mm.
because we were like reaching out to people in the red pill community when we could see November 8, and we're like, like surely everyone will see it,
Yeah.
and that wasn't the case. And we're like, what the hell's going on? How come some people can see it clear as day, and then some people think we're maniacs, think we're like Looney Tunes? Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
And you think that the red pillers, the ones that are decoding stuff, the ones that are speaking out, the ones that are like, they got the big followings, and like you think like, yeah, they'll see it because that's what they're doing. They're looking at stuff, they're looking through stuff, they're reading between the lines. They're like, but no, and then we're like, what is going on? Like, I just wish we understood then, that we could have been like, okay, yep, like just be prepared. And that's what I say to people now. Like they go, I get messages, oh, I'm going to tell this such and such about you. I'm going to show such and such your stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. I appreciate it, but don't get your hopes up and think that they're going to see just because you can. You think that, but that's not how it's designed.
Mm.
So, and I want to quickly talk about, I just want to quickly talk about forgiveness because this is a big one. Like it's all about like, and like I don't want people to think, oh, this is just going to get boring now, and I'm going to switch off this podcast now because she's going to talk about forgiveness. No, 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 no. You have to understand that forgiveness is absolutely central because it is like it is a massive thing that helps you to like purify your heart. And the more pure your heart is, the more you can see the truth. The less pure your heart is, the more you're going to fall for half truths. I mean, we're all falling for half truths and we're all conduits of half truth to some degree. So I'm not saying like you've got the perfect people and that exist and they're perfect and like there's no such thing. But it's a spectrum. So the more pure your heart is, the more you are going to be able to see the truth when it's handed to you on a silver platter or packaged up nice, right? You're going to see it. You're going to see it because the eye like the veil there is it's going to be less thick over your eyes. And if forgiveness is so key to unlocking your vision so that you can see stuff. So if you want to see and know the truth, you have to take this subject really seriously. And so we're going to use a couple of examples. We won't go on for too long, but we're going to use a couple of examples to show you why you should forgive, why you should forgive people, why, when Jesus, like that story of Jesus being completely like, think about it. He said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He says that while he's hanging on a cross, bleeding, dying. He's just been nailed. His hands have just been nailed, you know, to the cross. He's just been like totally humiliated, gone through this, 12 stations or 14 stations, whatever it is, of the cross experience, carrying this massive cross on his shoulder, people humiliating him, his closest friends turning on him. He's a pure person that he's being treated like a criminal for doing everything right. So imagine like you're in a position where you're being treated like shit, like people are misunderstanding you, people are doing you wrong, people are betraying you, whatever. And how can you come to a point where you can do that, where you can say, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do. How you can do that is by understanding that they literally like don't know what they're doing. Like, so that's what's happening. So let's use a couple of examples. You've got let's jump to like Stranger Things, where you've got was it season 3? I can't remember. Where you've got this character called Will Byers, and he gets basically like he becomes like possessed, right? He becomes possessed, and they don't realize that like they think they're talking to him, but they're talking to this entity that's taken over his body. So he's basically possessed. But then when they do realize and they catch on and they realize, Okay, so he's like buried under there, underneath this entity that's taken over his body. So like how they realize they can actually access the real him by um by activating his heart chakra and opening his heart chakra. And by opening his heart chakra, they
With music?
he's able to use his fingers to do Morse code.
Yeah, open his heart chakra with music, right?
Yeah, first they get his favorite song.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying this is how you do it, but this is symbolism. They
Symbolism,
get
yeah.
his favorite song, and then they start to talk to him about his happiest memories. So they've got his favorite song going in the back, and they're sitting there and they're like, "Do you remember this? Do you remember that? Do you remember when we did this and we went there and da 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 da?" Meanwhile, they've got someone on like secretly, so the entity can't doesn't know, watching his fingers. So he's so possessed that they've got him tied up, like his wrists are tied up, but he's using his fingers to do Morse code. And so they're able to read the Morse code and decode it and get the message out. So really, this is really exactly like perfect symbolism for what's going on. So think about all of these bad things that happen, like these assassins or these like people that do horrible things, right? And it gets in the media, they get arrested. But in the process of committing their crimes, they've actually left clues and breadcrumbs. That's why there's so much symbolism in all these events. And people think, oh, they're an MK Ultra patsy. They're
Mm.
like being activated, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, what do you think MK Ultra is? MK Ultra, like, yeah, there's a real MK Ultra, but there's also that hides another MK Ultra, which is like the deeper one that's happening on the subconscious level, where we are trauma. Like MK Ultra is trauma-based mind control. It's
Mm.
literally our traumas that are causing us to be controlled by the program.
Which we'll talk about those particular, you know, events in our paid subscription because it's a little bit deep and
Yeah,
confronting.
yeah. So there's when you're looking at someone that you've got resentment, you feel resentment towards them because they're not nice to you, they're not kind to you. You've got to think, well, behind that persona, behind that false identity, behind that unconsciously played actor's role, there is the real them, that is muzzled, that is suppressed from expressing itself, and it's in bondage. So you got to try to see through them and see that person, see that spirit that is being muzzled and taken over by the program. And the only way for them to actually, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just saying the only way for them to actually like free their true selves is for their heart chakra, is for their heart to be purified. Now, I'm not saying that everyone has to actually purify their own heart for them to be safe. No, of course that's never going to happen. Like, of course it's like literally like odds are like winning the lottery. But that's why the ones that do win the lottery share their winnings with everyone else. And that's what the chosen ones are. So when people say chosen one, it's not because they think they're better than everyone and they think that they're chosen to like leave us all behind and go to the real world and we're all just going to be left here because they were chosen. No, a chosen one is someone that is like basically becomes a servant to humanity. Like they actually become a servant. Like they it's like someone that wins the lottery and then shares their earnings with everyone else. So they're actually not like keeping it all to themselves. They're actually sharing it because they want everyone else to. That's what a chosen one is. Um, and so another example, which is a great example in the movie Wicked. Okay, part two is going to come out soon. So we haven't decoded it because we've only been able to decode part one, right? So what happens is that there are see, animals, generally speaking, represent one thing, but then each individual animal has its own symbolism that is unique to its species that symbolizes other things. So for now, I'm talking about animals in general. Animals in general, generally speaking, animals represent us. They represent our true selves. Our true selves are like see, animals are, like I said, they're ruled by instinct. So, well, yeah. So really, it's not that they represent our true selves. They represent us being ruled by the program and
Mm.
playing out the
Mm.
unconscious roles, like that they're unconsciously just following instinct.
And
Um,
impulsiveness and carnal, carnal,
yeah, they just poo and eat and sleep and whatever. I love animals. I'm not talking. They're playing their roles like we're playing ours.
yeah,
And they are sentient beings that deserve love and everything. Like if you know me, I love animals. I'm not talking bad about them. Like, and also remember, they can't really speak to us. They can't really, that's what makes being a vet so hard, right? Because
yeah,
you can't, like, they can't communicate and tell you, like, what's going on. It's
yeah,
kind of like us, like, our true selves are, like, muzzled and we can't speak. It's like we can't speak. And so in Wicked, uh, there's this problem where the animals are being silenced
yeah,
and they're losing their ability to, they're being caged and they're losing their ability to speak. Anyway, there's more to it. We'll have to talk more about Wicked once we watch part two because the blame for what's happening is put on the wizard, and you're probably like, well, why is it? How is it the wizard's like? Isn't the wizard the nine? Like, isn't the nine the like? How can the nine be the bad guy? And all this stuff. When Snoop Dogg is a nine. He came to Melbourne. There was like he had like a body double going around pretending to be him. And I don't know if you saw it, was all over social media. People thought they saw Snoop Dogg, but it was someone else pretending to be him.
mm,
So it was like a like a impersonator.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like, when people talk about the mark of the beast 666, but upside down it's 999. And
Mm,
it's like, well, hang on, wait a minute. 666 is supposed to be evil, 999 is supposed to be good. So, but 666 is hiding 999. So what's going on here? It's the same kind of idea. It's like, wait a minute, isn't he supposed to be the good guy? Why is he the bad guy? Like, what isn't 66 the bad antichrist number? So why is it upside down 999 and 999 is supposed to be good? Like, what's going on here? Because there's an impersonator aspect where it's like the what looks bad. For example, when the chosen ones die,
mm,
right? Because let's just say they're gonna look like they die, right? Which they are going to be clinically dead, but of course they're going to return. Okay, so but when they go, it's going to look like something bad took them. Like, so that's why you got Grim Reaper. Grim Reaper looks like a bad evil thing, like, "Arr." And
yeah,
like Trump shared that Grim Reaper video the other day. Everyone's like, "What's going on with that?" Well, I know what's going on with that because like Grim Reaper looks bad, but really like this is why Charlie Kirk's memorial had fireworks. Everyone was like, "Why is there the fireworks?" Like you would only have that for like you wouldn't have that at a memorial. We would not have that when you're mourning someone's death. You do not have fireworks. Like that doesn't go. Doesn't match. But
yeah,
actually, his death represents a very positive event. It represents the chosen ones are now being taken. And what they're going to do is they're going to go and advocate for the rest of humanity. They're going to go now and basically, like, I don't know, it sounds so crazy to say this, but the chosen ones are the ones that are going to go and like they're going to share their winnings with everyone. So everyone's going to benefit from what's about to happen. So they're dead and it looks bad. It looks like the evil Grim Reaper came to get them, but actually it was God that came to get them. It was like God that took them, that takes them to the real world, to Emerald City, and they're going to come back and they're going to bring heaven to earth. So it's the beginning of like it's supposed to be a celebration,
yeah,
and so there's this thing about like whenever you're watching things, you're like, oh, hang on, Annette said that's supposed to be a good thing. Like, why is that a bad thing? Like, why this doesn't make any sense? It's just keep that in mind because symbolism is not about it's
battle.
not about like, oh, he's like, people get offended all the time. Like, I was talking about Charlie Kirk today on my Instagram being like a symbol for the chosen one. that is raptured. And then I got this big like message. Someone got so angry at me saying like he was denying like the Gazans a voice and this and that, like saying that like what's happening in Palestine is fine, and like they're taking it all very literally. And like even Adolf Hitler represents an aspect of the nine, and he did horrible things. It
Mm.
doesn't work that way. Like this is a really important thing to keep in mind. Like just because someone is evil, it doesn't mean they're representing something that's evil. Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is people are looking at things from the left brain, not enough right brain. Because left brain is very like practical and, you know, it's like very literal. The right brain is the creative aspect. So when you have those two combined, you can see the practical, but you can also see from a creative side the deeper layer, the story that's being told, which prevents you from getting attached to any kind of literal kind of thing playing out. So yeah, until people can do that, they're always going to get stuck in that, like the
Well,
literal.
I think that that left brain problem is it's like there's a connection there with the heart, with the spirit, and the purity of the condition of the heart, so that like it doesn't allow you into the right brain, like it's blocking you from going into the right brain to see things on a more metaphorical,
Yeah,
to be able to understand metaphor and stuff like that. Um,
agreed.
and so like it's totally connected to that. So it's not something that you have to try to do with your brain. It's just literally like what's going to happen naturally as you purify your heart. The more you purify your heart, the more you'll be able to understand metaphor. It's just you know, you might not be able to be sitting there decoding stuff, but if someone is doing the decoding and presenting it to you, you're going to see it. You're going to go, this resonates. I can feel this, you
Yeah,
know, because decoding is not something that like, oh, it's just this magical thing, or oh, this person can do it because they've got a pure heart. No, it's a combination. It's like you like I said, like I was wrong yesterday about the game. I said the Storms will win because Storms is nine. But the people who knew NRL better than me were all saying, no, the Broncos is going to win because I don't have enough of that knowledge about NRL. I didn't know enough about all the ins and outs of the Broncos, and that there was someone in there that represented the nine, and there was an eight and a seven, and that it was going to be played out a different way because I couldn't see all that information because it's not my area. I don't know anything about the NRL. But the people that know about NRL and that have been following me for ages, they had the hunch that the Broncos was going to win. So it just goes to show, like I was wrong and they were right, and it's because it's a balance. It's about like it's not just this this magical thing that I can just understand stuff. It's like no, like I said, like if I want to decode a film, I have to watch it two or three times. I'm not just going to watch it and understand like, oh, I can decode it just one watch. Like I have to know the film. I have to like
I
you
don't
have
think
to.
people realize how much work and effort you have.
It's so much work.
I know Annette, and the girl is nonstop, like spending so much time and energy, yeah, looking into things and decoding. It's not like she just sits there and gets this, realization. You're doing a lot of like investigation and looking into things. And because of the symbolism you've already decoded, it does help you identify what you need to look out for. You know what I mean? That does help, yes. But it's not like, yeah, you're just sitting there getting all these realizations. Like it's not like that, you know.
Yeah, not like that at all. Yeah, it's a lot of I'm always listening to podcasts, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, audiobooks and stuff like that while I'm doing stuff. So like basically the last, I don't know, 8 years of my life, I have spent an insane amount of time cleaning, driving, transporting animals, mostly cleaning. Like cleaning is like, you know, I literally just my whole life revolves around cleaning because I've got rescue animals. And so it's a lot of I'm always listening to stuff.
Mm.
Even like movies and things like I'm often just listening to them because I don't even have time to watch them. I'm listening to the dialogue and TV shows and stuff like that. I literally can't like imagine if I could watch them, how well I could like actually like decode them. But I'm listening to dialogue because I'm cleaning and cleaning. I'm so busy. Yeah, and it's always thinking. Yeah, I just want to make it really clear that if you think that oh this mentality of like God's just going to come in and rescue us or someone's going to come and rescue us. No, when you realize how much you have to embody God's qualities in order for God to actually come into the realm, wow, it changes. And obviously not everyone does because it only has to be the chosen ones that do it, and they're going to help everyone else, right? Just like the Christians say, oh, that's why they don't like the Muslims very much because they say like, oh, they believe in faith, they believe in salvation through works, that you have to work for salvation, whereas the Christians believe it's a free gift. Yeah, but it's never going to be a free gift if there's never chosen ones to actually bring it in and offer it as a gift. Like that's how it works. Like this one day everyone's going to realize this. They're going to go, "Oh my gosh, like it all the Islam had its place, Christianity had its place. They all had something to bring to the table." So like, yeah, it doesn't, you don't, if without doing the work, you're not going to get the chosen ones. That certain amount of people have to do the work in order to become chosen ones, in order to come and bring the gift to earth to hand out to others, like, to share the winnings of the lottery. So you never, if nobody tries, if nobody is doing the work, no one's going to be a chosen one. No one's going to actually be able to offer the free gift, right, from God, right, to actually like for everyone to take for like they don't have to do the work. It's just like, here you go, here's a gift. The Christians are very big on that about salvation being a gift. And I know this because I grew up in the Christian church. Like people would have a go at me because I was choosing to do things that most Christians weren't doing. Like I was choosing to be vegetarian. And people would be like, why? Why, like you don't have to do anything. Gee, it's a free gift. You don't have to deprive yourself of eating foods that you like. And I'm like, no, I just want to be vegetarian because I don't want to hurt animals. Like, you know, um, it's just, it's just part of the moral code that's just on my heart. And yeah, like I had adults, I'm telling you, not kids, I had full adults ridiculing me about it and saying like it's an insult. They literally told me that I was insulting God because I was saying that what Jesus did wasn't enough because what he's offering is a free gift,
Mm,
so we don't have to do anything, just receive the gift. So that's what's going to happen in the new age. The chosen ones are going to hand out the gift. It's going to be a free gift, and you can either take it or leave it. The chosen ones haven't been raptured yet. So, like, if you want to be a chosen one, if you want to be one of these people that, like, are going to help, like, bring world peace and basically end world suffering, if I couldn't think of a greater calling than that. And if that's what you want to be, it's so important to understand that every choice you make, every thought, every word, everything you do, everything, you have to have, like, you can't just be letting your spirit run wild. You can't be letting your like impulses, you have to take control of, you have to hold your thoughts captive. You have to think before you speak. You have to like think about what are you desiring with your heart? Are they wholesome things? Are they like are they things that are not wholesome? Are they things that are like you know, bringing like lowering your frequency? Like, what are you looking at? What's the input you're putting out, and what's the input you're taking in? And really, it's not about like if you come from a religious background, you might end up being stuck like overlapping like the religious dogma with the moral code. But you got like be careful not to do that because it's all about the moral code. I always say that the epitome of the moral code is do unto others as you would have done unto you. So just treat others like you would want to be treated. If you're ever in the position where you don't know what to do what you would hope someone would do for you.
that's simple.
Yeah, it is quite simple. So like it's really, really it gets serious when you realize what it takes to be chosen one and what and the weight that they carry. So okay, for example, you look at the Jews. The Jews represent the chosen ones. They represent an aspect of the chosen ones. That's why they believe they're the chosen ones, right? So what are they doing? Look at what they're doing. They take their role so seriously. They
Mm,
are so serious about their roles as the chosen ones that they are willing, and I'm not saying that you should like follow in their footsteps, but I think you should learn from their commitment What are they doing to accelerate prophecy? They believe they're the chosen ones, and it's up to them to bring in the messianic age. So what are they doing about it? They are literally trying to accelerate prophecy by creating situations that are causing so much bloodshed and suffering. They literally tried to provoke Iran to go to war with them. They attacked them twice. They went attacked the military facilities, then they went after the nuclear as well. They killed people, high ups. Um, they they went after like Palestine. They like bombing freaking like they don't give a shit. They don't care what they have to do to accelerate prophecy. They don't care how many babies they need to bury under rubble. They don't care how much bloodshed they have to create. They're just, and when I say the Jews, I mean, obviously, I'm not talking about all Jews in general, okay? There are good people out there that classify themselves as Jews. I'm just talking about, the ones that are like at the, the Zionists, the ones that are like in the position to be making these big, calls and make these big decisions. Like they are so committed that they don't even care. They don't even care if the whole world turns against them. In fact, this is what people who defend Israel need to understand. I see so many people defending them and saying things like Israel has a right to defend itself, blah, 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 blah. Like, I see it so much, and I think I feel sorry for you because one day you're going to realize that they are like this is all being motivated essentially by their eschatology, by their end times prophecies. They are so serious about bringing in the messianic age that they are willing to be hated by the whole world. They don't care if the whole world hates them. And that's exactly what's happening. The whole world's turning on them. And they're like, great, this is fulfillment of prophecy. This is what we and I'm saying like I know it's so messed up, and I'm not saying like be inspired by them in that way, but at least look at how committed they are to bringing in the messianic age and what they are willing to do. They are willing to be hated and despised by the whole world because it ticks the box of fulfilling prophecy that needs to take place before the Messiah comes. Because they think if we don't bring in the Messiah, if we don't bring in the Messianic age, no one's going to do it because we're the chosen ones and it's up to us. That's how we have to think. We have to think if we want the Messianic age to come, if we want world peace and we want world suffering to end, we have to have so much desire and so much discipline, and we have to um we cannot let our impure spirit control our lives. We have to think about every desire that we have and think, is this wholesome? Is this lining up with the moral code? If I go down this path, am I like, is the sun going to be reflecting more on my moon or less? Do you know what I mean? Like, is this an attribute of the soul? Is this something that the soul would do?
Mm.
Like, we have to ask all those questions. We have to really take the role very, very seriously. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and you can't force it or fake it either. Like it has to be embodied, you know. And I think I'm a big advocate for therapy. So good therapy. And that can be a whole nother discussion another time. And I think being present with everything that you're doing, being mindful, because that way you're aware of your thoughts, you're aware of your actions, and you can catch yourself and be like, okay, where did that come from? Oh, okay, I had a thought before that and it's an insecurity, so then I reacted this way. Like, and I think also not judging yourself too is a really big one, and having compassion for yourself because there's a part of you, like a young part of you there that never healed that particular thing that's playing out. And adding shame and criticism and judgment doesn't help, doesn't, it's that's another big thing. So it's been a really amazing discussion.
I'm sorry if we forgot to bring up things that I probably said that we would talk about, but we'll bring it up in the next one. There's still plenty of stuff to talk about that we've forgotten, and we'll remember and we'll talk about it in the next one. There's a whole bunch of events that have passed. There's always things happening, so
Yeah,
um, yeah, we've got endless.
honestly,
Um,
just keep going
yeah,
constantly.
it's just we'll never run out of content. We just need to find the time to do this more.
Yeah, and like if you guys appreciate this and want to go deeper, subscribe to the podcast because
Yeah, so we have a podcast. It's for subscribers only.
it's $4 a month, which is cheaper than a coffee, right? It's not that much. We're not asking for much, but yeah, we go deeper in that. We go a lot deeper. I mean, we can consider it a little bit more advanced, but um, that's okay. I mean, you can listen to it. Things will just drop for you eventually anyway.
But if, you know, the more that support we have with the Spotify, the more eventually, hopefully, we can take more time to do these kinds of podcasts. I have 40 rescue cats that I used to have another Instagram channel that I use to raise money, but I've been locked out of it. And even if I was in, I would probably barely find time to create content to post on there. And it would take a lot of time away from this. And now the local fox has somehow lost one of his front paws, and he's quite a big fox, and so now I'm feeding him as well every night because he can't hunt. So it's like it just the responsibilities and the financial, like I'm like constantly, you know, scraping for money to buy cat food so that all these animals can basically have food to eat every day. And it's really like the biggest thing that I have to worry about every single day. And so if anyone ever wants to contribute, there's a link that I share every now and then in my stories, which I link people to my Instagram account, my animal Instagram account, and you can see all my animals on there, and you can see the link in the bio. So keep an eye on my stories, and every now and then I'll share the link, and you can like you can donate whatever, and that really helps me a lot. So if I can be at rest knowing that they have food for another day, it really helps me to be able to create content and to decode and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, and will give us so much more time that we can devote to this. Like, there's so much we want to share with everyone. So much, like, we're always talking about it between us two, and there's just we wish that we had a microphone with us 24/7 that you can hear our conversations. It's pretty mind blowing. Uh, but yeah, we'd love to do that, to be able to put more time and energy into sharing what we're figuring out.
yeah, we're usually just communicating while we're doing stuff, while we're driving, while we're like, it's
Nesting.
just our lives are so chaotic, and we're just like always like, oh damn, if only we didn't have to, if only we didn't have so much to do, we could just be baking, we could just, this could be a podcast, this conversation could be a podcast, you know?
All the time. Anyway,
Anyway,
well, hopefully we get there one day. And yeah, thanks. If you're listening still, thank you. It's a bit of a long one. But yeah, we'll be putting plenty more out there. We do usually post more on our subscriber one. But this is a really important one. So yeah, we want to put this out there for everyone. So thank you so much, Annette, for your time and energy and
thank you.
for your heart as well.